Top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys?
We are great on a Thursday morning. What do you have for us?
So that's a very good question, actually.
It is 1st of September.
I know. All right. So 3 men have been charged with burglary of several businesses. Police took them into custody, and now they have officially been charged. They appeared in court a few days ago, and I guess the lesson there for everyone is you're probably going to get caught. So think twice about deciding to break the law. So a 48-year-old man, along with his accomplices, have been headed to court. One is 22 and the other one is 22. So they've all been formally charged with 3 counts of burglary. They went to court on Monday, and yes, their court process now begins. So they were apprehended after a short foot pursuit. So they, were trying to make a run for it, but it didn't quite work out for them.
Don't throw your life away.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's not worth it.
The 45-year-old, there's also a 45-year-old Cuban national who was, the police say, located a short distance from the scene of the burglary, and he was subsequently arrested in suspicion of burglary as well. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens in all of those cases.
And are these from cases from a while back, and they just now?
These are men. Yeah, the burglary took place this month, so not that long ago. So, yeah.
Guessing it's not their first time, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. August the 15th, 20th, and 28th was when the burglaries took place. So they grabbed them all. The Cayman Islands now has a new chief medical officer.
Okay.
And who do we got?
Yeah. Congratulations to Dr. Nick. I think his name is pronounced Gent, CBE. Incoming chief medical officer. Obviously, that means that he's from the UK. In the press release, it says that he's a highly reputable physician who has over 30 years of public health experience, including his most recent post as senior medical advisor and consultant in public health in the UK's security agency.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Welcome, Doc.
Yeah, he was also director of public health and several district public health services throughout the UK as well. So as we know, this has, I guess, been a very long process. He has received a Commander of the Order of the British Empire back in 2018. So yeah, welcome.
All righty.
We'll see how that goes. The civil service has extended their condolences to the family of Cashween McKenzie. They've actually paying tribute to him. As you will know, he's a young man who lost his life in an unfortunate motorbike incident over the weekend. So the Ministry of Home Affairs has published something and expressed their condolences on behalf of Her Majesty's Cayman Islands Prison, because he actually was a prison officer at the prison. So they said they were deeply saddened to learn of the loss of a bright young Caymanian who'd been making strides in the honorable prison service. So on behalf of Cabinet, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Honorable Sabrina Turner extended her condolences.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes, very sad situation all around.
Hey, what were you saying yesterday on your show about there was a release from HSA about just their level 1 trauma care, and I think because we were discussing the hospitals
about
yes. So we're gonna unpack this a little bit, because I think maybe some people at the HSA think that the comments in relation to why not send someone to Health City if they're like literally 5 minutes away was somehow directed at them not being competent. It has nothing to do with them at all. It's just a matter of getting someone to the closest trauma center that is able and capable of assisting them in the quickest amount of time.
But it is true, though. I don't think, does Health City have a trauma?
They do. And this is exactly where there seems to be a lot of misinformation out in the public sphere. We're actually going to unpack this in detail tomorrow morning, because we want to look at the concessions lawsuit. And then even last night, I had people tell me, no, Health City doesn't have a license to do emergency services. I'm like, okay. And now I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I don't know why, because this is something that should be super easy. The Medical and Dental Council, who issues the licenses for all these facilities, they're the ones who should have made a statement in light of all the public confusion. But they seem to be one of those boards or councils that really never says anything. So we are going to request of them to give a formal statement. My apologies, and see if they actually do. But I know for a fact, and I'm comfortable that they do have said license, because I've actually now seen it with my own 4 eyes. So, but yeah, a lot of people are definitely confused about it. It's caused a lot of confusion. And again, it had nothing to do with HSA. Nobody is saying that the HSA is not a great facility. They have over 30 between EMTs and EMTs and
I think you're just talking about the ride from
exactly. It is simply an hour plus ride.
Yeah,
could make the difference
It
between
could.
life and death. And sorry, ultimately, that's a decision at the ministerial level that has to be made. That has nothing to do even with 911 or HSA. Once they put it in whatever law, regulations, or whatever that allows 911 to divert the government ambulance service, because that's what it would be, to actually take patients in emergency and trauma situations to HSA, to Health City. My apologies.
Interesting.
And that's all it would take.
All right, we'll catch Sandy's show right now on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for the Friday show. All right. All right.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, fever grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the cold, hard truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea.
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
All right, folks. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hard to believe that it is now September the 1st. Wow, the month of August completely gone. Finished, kaputs. That's it. No more. But we move on, and we're getting that much closer, obviously, to the Christmas and the festive season. Before you know it, your little ones are going to be asking you about Halloween candy. Those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, which, by the way, is like my favorite holiday, really. I love Thanksgiving. I think it's because having lived in the States for so long, it's kind of like you feel like, okay, the holiday season really starts once you get to Thanksgiving. And you do, like, you get the day off from work, you do your turkey and your ham and your big family Thanksgiving dinner. People do a lot of traveling to get together around the US for the Thanksgiving holiday. And you get that much closer to Christmas. Everybody sits down and watches a little bit of football or the Macy's parade. I think they've done away with the Macy's parade now, though. Gosh, I don't even know. But anyway, we've got Kevin here with us for the first bit of this hour, and then we've got the premiere coming up at 9 o'clock. So go tell your friends right now. Premier Panton is going to be on the program. So get your questions. I've already got a couple questions that have come in for him. So we'll get those ready. And yes, good morning to Stephen. He's the first one out of the barn this morning. I should say good afternoon to him because he's actually in the UK. Miss Donna is here. Good morning, Donna. Is that a beach photo? Is that a photo of you hanging out on the beach, Miss Donna? Looks like it. Evelyn is got it locked. She's also still enjoying her holiday in the UK. And Felicia is here as well. So Kevin, good morning. How are you?
I had to unmute. Good morning, Sandy, and good morning, all of the CMR listeners out there.
Yes.
I'm doing well.
Yeah, you're looking good. You're looking good. So we brought Kevin in the program today because those of you who've been listening for a minute know that we are doing a 50 by 50 program. That's just what I'm calling it. It's going to be like a CMR, fitness and wellness boot camp or something. But for me specifically, it's 50 by 50. My goal is to get as close to 50 pounds in the next year. So essentially I've got 2 weeks shy of a year to get it done. So, It's crunch time now, I feel like. But Kevin has been doing his own thing. He started ahead of everybody else. So I do have the list, and I'm putting the WhatsApp group together. If you want to be in the WhatsApp group, and that's just to receive notifications, kind of checking in with people. We're going to be sending out, recipes and different menu ideas, and how you can still enjoy life in the culinary aspects of your life, but cutting back on the oils and the sugars and the all of the fat and the elements that are just not any good for you. If you have things like diabetes, we're going to be putting more of that type of content on the website with a view to really trying to educate people. And we'll spend a little bit of time every Thursday in the program, even if it's just 15, 20 minutes, discussing our progress and how we're coming along. So the premier is on the program this morning. He has committed to doing this with us. And Minister Turner is also committed to doing this with us. Now we need to wrangle in some of the other MPs. Anybody is certainly welcome to join. And the idea is we will sort of organize ourselves based on geographical location. So for example, the premier is physically closer to me. So there might be times that we might be able to go out with a walking group and do our laps on the local track here at Savannah Primary, around the neighborhood, or we have to get into schedule and just be the thing is consistency. And I'm sure Kevin's going to tell us that this morning as well. But yes, it's all about consistency and just really getting started. So Kevin, you're looking good. You're feeling good. Tell us, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so I am doing the keto diet, and I've also paired it with intermittent fasting. I was doing some research, what would work kind of good for me, as well as I spoke with some of my friends who have also went through their own weight loss programs, as well as people in the medical field that I know that would know what they're talking about. And then I just kind of customized a plan for myself, because everyone's going to be a little bit different, because we're not, all of our lifestyles are not the exact same. I'm doing what works for me. So I started off at 221 pounds, exactly 221.3 pounds, because I do weigh myself every day. I know some people say don't weigh yourself every day, but I want to track everything to kind of really see how I'm doing. And now, as of this morning, I weighed in at 198.2. I went down to 197 at one point, but the way it works based on how I've been tracking things, some days you go up maybe a pound and a half, and then other days you lose. So I'm not worried about it.
That could be a lot of weight. I mean, that could be as simple as,
Yeah. It could be that I drank more water and I didn't excrete it. I didn't sweat it out or pee it out. So, there's a lot of different things that could be that. And that's insignificant number, in my opinion, because again, based on when I'm looking at all of my data, that's just exactly how it is. I always lose a good bit, and then afterwards I gain a little bit back, and then I lose more, and I just keep on going down and down and down and down. And my goal is to get somewhere between 180 to 190. That's my personal goal. At first, it was 200, which I would have reached it. But then I was looking, before I even hit that 200 mark, is that I was looking at some pictures of when I was 200. I said, I still got a little bit of pregnant belly. I got about 4 months of a baby inside there. So I said, no, I got to go a little bit more than that.
Yes.
That blessing from that good Caymanian food, because even though I'm up here, I still make my nice traditional stuff. At least the stuff that I can get it on. I can't get my turtle up here, but hey.
All right. So so you've been doing and I don't think that all diets are the same for everyone. So some people find that they can do the fasting one. For myself, I've been told the physicians have said to me, no, don't do the fasting one, because we're monitoring your sugar levels. Unfortunately, not eating consistently throughout the day will actually negatively impact your sugar, and it'll cause it to dip and be all over the place. And you want to keep it as even keeled as possible. So for me, kind of falling into that pre-diabetes stage, it's just not a good idea for me to do any sort of extreme fasting or whatever.
So I was pre-diabetic too, Sandy. I was at the pre-diabetes marker level. And so I started off that way. But you said something very important. One of the things that I did do was I did get a complete physical, and I got all my labs and blood work. And I did look at those numbers. And then I recently had another one. I did the physical before I started. I did it probably about 6+ months ago, a little over 6 months ago. Well, 2 weeks ago, I did another physical, which was my annual checkup, my annual every year physical, which is a lot more comprehensive. And again, we did all of those labs. And then we were looking at the numbers. And again, my primary care doctor was like, yeah, no, everything looks good. Some of the flags that were on there aren't very, weren't anything concerning at all. And it had nothing to do with the diet that I'm on. I do have to supplement a little bit. I do take some probiotics because part of being on the keto diet would be I'm not able to eat certain things that might be higher in carbs that my body might still need some of the benefits from it. So I do take a probiotic. I also take CoQ10 that also helps the heart. So, right. I mean, you speak to your doctor, you speak to a nutritionist to find out exactly what you need because everyone's going to be a little different.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's advice that I got when I did my my complete workup the other day at Health City. So, and it really, I mean, at some level, it makes sense because you're doing smaller meals. So it's not like you're sitting down having 6 large meals a day. That would not be good. You're definitely doing smaller meals. And you're just being more consistent. So you never get to that point where you're actually feeling hungry. And for me, the biggest obstacle is I'm not much of a breakfast person. So I find that it is very, very challenging for a number of reasons, including the show, for me to eat breakfast. But even when I didn't have the show, to be honest, I'm one of those people who normally wouldn't eat breakfast. So I need to get into grabbing something to break that fast, as they say. First thing in the morning. That's why I like the overnight oats because, you know, I found that they're easy to grab and to just start eating right away. But of course, I've also realized that one of the reasons why I probably like it and it tastes so good is it's packed with a lot more sugar than we're willing to admit. So it's got like some sort of jam preserve that they put in the middle of it. It's got raisins, which are sweet. It has, they actually make it with apple juice, which is kind of interesting, but that's additional sweet again. And then, so it's sweet. And then of course, if I add fruit on it, I'm putting some additional natural fruit. So I have had them modify it for me, where I've removed a lot of those sugary elements as much as possible. But you've also been moving. You've been getting some exercise in. So tell us a little bit about that part of the program, because we know that realistically it's 80% diet, but then the exercise, not so much even for losing weight, but for a lot of other health reasons, you've got to get that body moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And just right before I get into moving, let me just say my fasting period is a little bit longer than most. I only eat 1 time a day. I only eat sometime between 12 and about 3 o'clock. I don't eat any other time of day. The only thing I will have outside of that window would be water, black coffee with no sugar, or tea with no sugar, which I said, this is not for everyone. And so 12 hours is the minimum fast recommendation to lose some weight, but I wanted to lose it a little faster, at a faster rate. So I'm up at a more for 20 to 24 hour fast, more or less, where I take my meal somewhere around 12 or 1 is kind of where I average my meal, and then I don't eat again until the next day. And I do get a very big portion. I'm a meatitarian. I absolutely love my meat. I could never be a vegetarian. And so I get to eat, because that's 0 carbs. So I get to eat a lot of meat and a lot of veggies. Have to be careful of my fruit because fruit has sugar. Sugar turns into carbs. And that's against what the whole method is. So even though it's a natural form of sugar, it still turns into carbs and it won't allow me to shed the fat as fast. But again, what you said about moving, I have an Apple Watch. This thing is very, very helpful. It reminds me when I need to move, and it kind of keeps me on track when I need to, try to increase my calories so I could close my rings, is what it called. You have different goals, and then you close your rings at the end of the day. And I always strive to close my rings. And
is it a specific app that you're using on the watch?
It's just the health app, the fitness app, or the fitness app. So if you go into the fitness app that is preloaded on it, you just open that up, and then you can set different targets. If that target's too low for you, you set it higher. Don't go or set it higher if you want to work a little harder. Don't set it anything under that though, because that's not really going to be helpful to you or beneficial to you. But I do walk. There's a beautiful lake that I live next to. It's called Lake Hollingsworth. It's one of the lakes that people go and take a lot of photos. And when you walk around that lake, It's just under 3 miles. It takes me about 45 minutes to do that walk because I do walk at a good pace. And so when I walk that lake every night. Sometimes it's usually after I record the news for the news buzz. Right after that, I head on out and I go walk the lake. Unfortunately, I do live in Florida where we have these thunder showers. It usually be in the afternoon sometimes, but a lot of times recently it's been at night. So sometimes I don't get to walk it until a little later because I do not want to go out in an electrical storm. That wouldn't be the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just too, because I go to bed so late, I don't get to bed until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning on many times, which I need to do better at, because sleeping, getting a good amount of rest is also very important to weight loss. I don't have that down pat yet because I go to bed too late. But, that means I don't get up early enough necessarily to walk first thing in the morning. Which is what I used to do a while back. Is I used to get up around 4:30 and go for my walks. But I'm not getting up until probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock these days. So it's a little too late because I need to start my day and get my day going.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, because anytime I go to the US, and obviously, just started retraveling again because of COVID and the whole 9 yards. But I made this observation. Sorry, let me get my tea this morning. That I like that even when you eat out in the restaurants, you get to see all the calories on all of the dishes. And I know that they made this change a number of years ago. I think it's mandatory, right, for all restaurants?
I believe it is mandatory. A lot of restaurants do have it, but again, that's helpful for people who are on calorie reduction or calorie-based diets. I'm not on that. I'm on a keto diet, which is pretty much low carbs. The maximum amount of carbs that I'm supposed to eat in a day with the diet that I am on is 20 carbs, which is not a lot. Because
but you're also automatically reducing calories by the fasting, because
you are reducing
one
calories.
meal a day. I mean, you'd have to be eating a lot at that one meal to probably get what would be your normal caloric intake for the day. So that's where fasting works, is because you're drastically reducing your caloric intake. And I mean, you do have to be careful. Professionals will tell you, depending on what you're doing in terms of exercising and so forth, especially for women, your body does require a minimum number of calories for the day. And of course, one of the things that I've noticed that people who do the fasting diet with the extreme caloric reduction is they'll lose the weight quickly, but then it becomes a matter of sustaining it, because you can't for the rest of your life.
I know so many people that even did the keto diet, they shed a whole lot of pounds, and the moment they came off, they shot up and went up larger than they were originally. So my plan, because obviously I'm not there yet, but once I come off, I have 0 cheat days. You know how people say, oh, you're supposed to have cheat. I am dedicated to this to the T. I am not eating outside that window. Yes, I've been to a couple of events where there was food and I wish I could have eaten something because it looked so good. But I have said absolutely 0 cheat days, which is, you have to be kind of strong-willed. And I purposely do not go certain places or hang out with certain people just because I know the temptation would be greater. And it's just a sacrifice that I have to make. I've been doing this for only about a month and a half now. The last time I was in Cayman was when I pretty much started. I as soon as I came back, the next day is when I started this. And that was about a month and a half ago. And I've shed approximately 25 pounds. So, to me, it's worth it. It's only going to be a couple months process. I would say by the end of this month, now that we're in the month of September, I probably will be hitting my target. And so 2 to 3 months of a sacrifice to, one, get healthier, to two, just be able to reach a goal and feel great that I reached a goal. I think it's worth it. It's not a very long time when you look back at it.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm in the slow and easy mode. That's why I'm giving myself a year to do it. So I'm not going to do anything extreme, because I think just for my my personality, I'm kind of like in the middle with a lot of things. So I just prefer to cut back on a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and still enjoy, because I'm a big foodie, but still enjoy a little bit of what I like. I've seen people who just cut half of what they eat. So again, portion control automatically restricts your calories and the amount of fats and sugars and everything that you're taking in, essentially. And they cut back by even 50%. And that 50% reduction is 50% reduction. And so, that really helps them significantly to try to get the weight off. So I think there's different things that can work for different people. It's awesome that you've lost. I mean, 25 pounds in a month and a half is actually a lot. That's really, really fast, Kevin. So we're going to definitely monitor you throughout your progress. And yeah, we'll keep you accountable. But I like the, like I said, when I go into a restaurant, like I go, for example, everybody loves Cheesecake Factory, Caymanians when they travel. I don't actually go there for the cheesecakes. I go for the rest of the menu because the rest of the menu is like, oh my God, so awesome. And you look at one appetizer and it's like 1900 calories. And it's like, what for an appetizer? Drinks.
I think about 2,000 calories is kind of what they put on the label as the average. So that one meal took you out.
Yeah, I mean, one meal and you are literally done. I've seen even some of the drinks can be 500-600 calories. That's like food. And of course, if you're going to drink that many calories, you might as well have something of substance that's going to benefit the body, like, some sort of fiber or something else.
When I get hungry or anything, I drink approximately a gallon a day. I do sometimes drink over this, and this got little times on it that kind of will keep you on track. And I do finish this pretty much every single day. If I turn it around, it tells you how much milliliters or stuff it is inside there.
That's a gallon of water?
This is 1 gallon of water. And I do finish this every single day. But the thing is, if I don't have this near me, I'm not going to drink it. So I have to really log this big old thing around. Luckily, the thing that works for me, like I said, everybody has their own lifestyle, and it does not work for everyone. It just will not work for everyone.
Kevin, I might have to get you to bring me one.
Oh, absolutely. It's only like what, $15-$20 on Amazon. But yeah, I because I get to work from home most days, it's not a big deal. I have it sitting right here next to me, and I sometimes I just drink. If I feel a little hungry, I drink some water. And that kind of fills in that little bit of, instead of me snacking on something I shouldn't be snacking on, this is going to help me out. And originally, when you first do it, yes, you're going to probably go pee a whole lot. You're going to use the bathroom a little bit more, but your body does adjust after about a week or two. It really does. It's just getting over that period where your body's not used to so much liquid being inside. You're talking about it.
And your skin looks good, Kevin. So I'm sure the water is helping your skin. So he's going to have some water. Speaking of water, I got water over there too, but not drinking any, as you can see. Steven says, I don't like eating in the morning. If I eat too early, I actually feel nauseous. And I think we have picked up probably, these bad habits along the way. Cause I remember, when I was, a teenager and in high school and that sort of thing, every morning I had breakfast. You couldn't walk out the door. Aunt Lottie was like, sit down. You got to have breakfast. And she was giving you whatever it was, grits and whatever she had on tap. And so I didn't have a choice. Before I got on the school bus or went out to wait for the school bus, I was having breakfast. And then, of course, you get into university life and things get busy. And I remember trying to run to classes and get there in time. And most mornings it's like, oh man, class starts at 9 o'clock. You're rolling out of bed at 8:15, trying to rush to get to your class. And you just neglected to eat breakfast. And I think it's unfortunately a bad habit that I picked up as an adult. That I need to really, try to consciously work on. So Damaris says, good morning from Queens, New York. Thank you, Damaris. Miss Judy is here. She says, I thought I was the only one. It's not good, but I find it extremely difficult to eat my eating pattern, to change my eating pattern. It is difficult, Judy. And this is one of the reasons why maintaining and keeping a journal and writing these things down is one of the ways in which you can benefit yourself. Because writing anything down, any goal that you have, they tell you that once you write it down, and your brain does something different when you're actually going through the process of writing something down that you actually want to accomplish. And so it forces you to really focus on the goal itself and how you're going to get there. And if you're keeping and maintaining a proper journal, you will actually be able to monitor your progress, if you will. And that's one way of keeping yourself accountable, is when you know that, oh man, I got to write this in my journal. Like, listen, your brain, when you want to pick up and grab something, is like, we're going to have to write that down. It's going to be concrete. Everybody's going to know. And this is part of why we're trying to do sort of this group method of holding each other a little bit accountable. So we do have some of the Life and Apple wellness planners that are coming. I've ordered a few more. And so, Judy, you have mentioned that this is an area that you're struggling with. So we are going to give you a planner out of the stash that we have here. We have more coming. I don't know how many I'll be able to do in the end, but we do have more that are definitely coming. So Judy, link me on the WhatsApp number 936-2626. We'll get you a planner, and we've just got to start recording it and writing it down. Whatever works for you. There are apps that you can use on your phone. So if you're more inclined to use technology to keep track of your life, like Kevin said, his Apple Watch. I've got an Apple Watch, so I'm going to look at some of the features. I haven't really explored a whole lot of it because for the longest time I was a Fitbit person. So I always had a Fitbit, and I was using my Fitbit. And the Fitbit, again, was great as well because it would, you know, vibrate and say, get up and start moving. And that's when you realize, oh man, I've been sitting down for that long. Like, really? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a constant reminder to get moving, to get up, to walk, to get some steps in. And yeah, I think we all have to make small improvements wherever you can. And listen,
it can be as simple as, Sandy, taking out, instead of having 2 slices of bread, have 1 slice of bread. You still get your bread fix. Cut back a little bit on that rice.
Yeah.
Just take half that rice off the plate and increase those veggies to try to supplement where you might want to chew a little bit more. Some of those, just those little subtle changes do make a big difference. I will tell you, I have felt so much more energetic as well. I've always heard people say, oh, when I lost weight, I felt more energetic, this, that, and the other. But I will tell you for sure that it is so true.
Morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
I saw a dog on the internet, but
sorry, you
my
said
dog like last night.
Which one of the dogs? Because we're always posting dogs. So tell me which one. Was it the brown one that was posted last night? Uh-oh. Hello?
Seems like his signal went out.
I know. Hi, caller. Uh-oh. So when you call, you got to let us know which dog, because believe me, we post a lot of dogs and cats and all sorts of stuff that go missing. As a matter of fact, I'm posting one right now that is missing in the Spots Newlands area, a black and white dog, a little one. So morning, caller.
I'm sorry. I was in the Wi-Fi. I drove up, but I forgot I have my Wi-Fi sometimes to connect on my data. So it go, you know what I mean? The connection just lost.
Okay.
But it connect back to my data.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but the dog, the dog. I saw him on Facebook. I was so frightened.
But which dog? Like, I'm just trying to identify which one is yours, because I was just saying that we have a lot of dogs.
I'm gonna send you a picture.
It's the brown one that was posted last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
He never came out of the yard before, but I wonder why we're like. It just the other day I started walking, you know, like he didn't. I don't like he don't the yard, but I start walking him, you know. But I don't really time like on that time. He makes so much noise. So there's another dog he play with, but he looks like a puppy.
He still looks pretty young.
He's a puppy.
Yeah.
But he's mixed. But I start walking, you know what I mean? Like,
and so now he wants to go walking on his own.
Man, yesterday I walk him like 6:30, and I bring him home. But I don't really time up. But seeing like he walk out last night.
Okay.
But
and what part of the island do you live? Just a general area?
Crew
Yeah, that's him then. Just want to make sure, because some dogs look alike. Okay, here's what I'm going to do for you, caller, is I'm going to actually send you the telephone number. I'm just seeing if I can text you here of the just send me a WhatsApp message on this number, and I'll send you the phone number for the person who has your dog.
No problem.
Super easy.
Thanks.
Another dog reunited.
Yeah. somebody were calling me like a million times, but like I did, my phone wasn't when they're telling me like I miss this dog, but like I was watching you live, and then you were talking a number, and the first I ever catch a number, like, you know what I mean? When I was so shocked, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I catch your number so.
Well, I gotta say it more often. 936-2626. That's 936 Bobo. Super easy, but yes, we know exactly who has your dog, so we can get that sorted out for you.
So that's me, and I send you a video of me. I look at I even sent. Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah. So no problem. No problem at all.
Wow. I'm gonna time this time, man.
Well, you know what? You know what I was just thinking, caller? He's obviously still a puppy, and puppies are curious. I would encourage you to keep walking him because, listen, dogs are very, very social creatures. They don't want to be looking at the same thing in the yard all the time. Don't tie him up. Walk him places. Let him see the world. But you know, he's a puppy. I don't know how old he is, but get him fixed.
I think he's about 5 months because when I get him, he's like 1 month. And I have him almost 4 months now. But when
get him fixed because he's gonna start rooming for that reason.
Everybody say, "Oh, you're Jamaican. Oh, you got the dog and rare." I said, "I don't know. I just like him, and I just make up my mind." And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna try it. I gotta try."
What does being a Jamaican have to do with loving dogs? Walk your dog and be proud of it, but get him fixed, caller. Listen to me. The Humane Society has a free program where they will, fix your dog at no cost to you. Spaying and neutering your dogs is very, very important because one of the reasons they start to room is they get this instinct to start going out there looking for males and females. So you get them spayed or neutered depending on the sex, and that will reduce their desire to just start roaming the streets because next thing you know, he's going to be bringing home some puppies and a girlfriend to you, and that might be too much.
True.
So, yeah, I mean, and you can do it as early. I've had male dogs, I've had female dogs, and with male dogs, it's really, really easy to know when they're ready to be fixed because as soon as their little gonads drop, they're good to go. You can get them fixed as early as that. And don't make anybody make you feel away. Listen, people have these preconceived notions in their head about people, nationalities, whatever. Don't let anybody get in your head about, oh, you're Jamaican. How do you love a dog? It doesn't matter. If you've made a connection with this dog and you love this dog, it is what it is. Just like a lot of Caribbean people, they're like, oh, I don't want to fix my dog. Because, we as Caribbean people don't do that. It has nothing to do with Caribbean people. You just need to do the right thing for the dog. And this is the best thing for the dog's health and wellness.
I even bring him to the vet and he get injection. I said, whoa, you got money. Why is not really money? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He's the first time raising a dog. I just like him and I just
good for you.
Do everything.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they need to get their shots because they can get, give him his heartworm tablets because especially if he's outside, mosquitoes is what bites them and gives them heartworm. So keep the dog healthy. Do your part as a responsible pet owner.
I bathe it 3 times for the week.
Yeah.
There's just make my routine.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Don't make people put you in a box about how you should treat your pets or your animals just because you're, a Caymanian, a Jamaican, a this or that. Treat them with respect and care and love. And, they say that a dog's a man's best friend for a reason because trust me, they will save your life if it comes down to it. They'll put their own life on the line.
But I want to know I'm going to keep him inside now if I'm not going out.
Yeah, you might have to. I mean, if I don't know how big he'll get, but if you have,
he's gonna get big. He's mixed with Rottweiler.
Yeah,
and he's like his foot is big. Like he's gonna get big, but you know what I mean. Like
Miss Darlene says, kudos to you for loving that puppy. Aw, so sweet. Yeah, keep him inside. Get him fixed. You wouldn't want to be outside in the heat when it feels like 107 degrees. And neither does a dog with fur. So if you can keep him inside, a little cool fan and some fresh water and, access to food, those are the things that you can do. Doesn't take anything off your back to treat a dog with respect and love.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I love it, man.
All right. That really touches my heart to hear a man say that he loves a dog. That is just so, so special.
Yeah, man, so
good. Thank you for loving your dog.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So WhatsApp me and I'll send you the number and you can get reunited. What's his name?
Bruno.
Bruno. Okay. You can get reunited with Bruno.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, my dear.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Man, the power of CMR, Sandy. I'm telling you how many we lost count and how many people were reunited with items and
God,
animals and everything
credit
else.
Cards, debit cards, wallet, hard gold cash, couple birds. Yes, we do have another dog right now that has gone missing last night. Let me actually just show him real quick. I think.
it's a cute little one that's out missing. Sorry for the radio users that listeners that can't see it on the screen, but yeah, it's a cute little dog. On our Facebook page, the CMR Facebook page, we do post a lot of the missing animals and other ones that we do find. So anytime if you have the ability to look on our Facebook page, just scroll through it and you'll definitely see.
I think I muted myself online. Sorry.
Yeah, you did. So I started to commentate for you.
Yeah, my apologies. Bit of good news. The owner said he just found him. So that one is
okay.
We can.
So both of them are found. Yes. Perfect.
Oh yeah, these dogs love to go walking about the place. All right, so that one is definitely good to go. So yeah, folks, you know, sometimes dogs, you know, sometimes Coco would, like, you open the door and she walks out and she's, you know, when I first got her, one of the things she used to do, Kevin, and I had to rein her in really, really quickly, is she would literally dart out the door. And we were living in Rackley at the time. And I said to myself, ooh, I could see this being very, very tragic. Or one day she darts out the door and she ends up getting hit by a car, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I had to get a bit of a training mechanism in place for her. And I got one of those shock collars. Now I know that sounds drastic, and but I got to tell you the joke about what I did, right? So I was, you know, if you're a dog lover, you totally understand. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, you know, you see it working, whatever, but you're still a bit apprehensive about using it on your dog. I'm like, oh, she's so small and cute and whatever. And so I went over to my neighbor, Mr. Scotty, who was across the street, and I said to him, I said, Mr. Scotty, you know, he now lives in the Bracken. I said, Mr. Scotty, do you mind if I try this shock collar on you? Because I'm like, it's for my dog and I need to put it on her, but you know, I don't know if it's gonna hurt and whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. He was always up for something. He was the person helping me get the spider out of the house that I accidentally, then he hit it with the broom, and turns out it was pregnant. So then I had a million spiders running all over the place. But I was always calling him for help. When I had my older dogs, before Coco that had passed away, after Ivan, we had one dog, Oscar. He was so scared, like he was traumatized because of Ivan. He would push open the window, like literally, I've never seen a dog do this, but he found the strength, lifted the window, and he would jump out, push the screen out and jump out and roam the streets for the day, and then come back, jump back through the window. And we had two dogs. And the funny thing is, Oscar was the smaller of the two dogs. And the other dog, Rupert, who was a lab mix and like 65 pounds, Oscar was about 35 pounds. Rupert wouldn't go anywhere. He was so well behaved. Oscar was like the rebel, but Rupert would just stay there and wait for Oscar to come back. So Scotty would always call me and he'd be like, Sandra, that dog got out the window again. And so after a while, I was just like, oh, just let him go, because you know, if it was windy out, he just started to get a little bit apprehensive, right? So yeah, Mr. Scotty helped me test the dog collar for Coco. And then he was like, oh, no, that doesn't hurt. That's not that bad. So I said, oh, okay. So I put it on Coco. Of course, she doesn't know what it is. And something happened, doorbell, whatever. And I opened the door and there she goes, darting at the front door. And I pressed that button. I had it in the lowest possible setting. I got to tell you, Kevin, she must have jumped about 6 feet. But it was it was a surprise than the actual shock, because she's like, what the heck was this? And so after that, all I had to do was
do it again.
All I had to do was press the warning button. She heard the beep and then she's like, whatever it was she was doing, she stopped. So anyway, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the program. And, you know, thanks to that caller and everybody who does the right thing, because people will find dogs and they will contact us. They'll send us pictures. A cat was found a couple of days ago that we believe belongs to someone. You know, doing the right thing. Even, you know, somebody has a cow out in the pasture and people are saying, can you just post this so that the cow's getting fresh water and a little bit of shade, and, you know, just check in your animals if you've got horses out there. I know that eventually everybody's like, oh, but we're going to eat that cow anyway. I'm like, okay. But that doesn't mean that in the interim, you can't treat the cow with good care and respect and, you know, just make sure that they're okay.
Yeah. Especially how Cayman sun is very, very hot as well, too. And make sure they have enough shade and proper, like even if it's a bowl of water and they're an outside pet, I mean, that water is going to heat up. If the outside's hot, you expect that water to heat up. And do you like yourself drinking hot water? No. So you got to also be very, very courteous to these animals as well. They do deserve that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're I mean, I've seen a couple like horses and stuff in New York, like passing out from the heat. I mean, it is hot out there for your animals. So think a little bit about their condition and bring them inside the hottest months. I mean, I think all dogs should have the opportunity to be inside, even if it's just like a garage or a covered area where they can, you know, lie down on a cool mat or whatever. So yeah, congratulations to that young man there for being a pet owner who's not afraid to say, I love my dog. Isn't that fantastic?
Absolutely.
All right, Kevin, we're going to check in with you next week, Thursday, to see how you're going with the fitness and wellness plan.
Not a problem. Everyone have a beautiful day. Take care.
All right. Wonderful. So, folks, we do have Premier Panton, who is going to be joining us up next. You Little Brat says, good morning. So sorry I missed yesterday's show. I never miss a show and missed a show that totally relates to my life and work. Oh, but watched it last night. So informative. We need more of these shows to rid the islands of stigma towards the indifferent. Remember, the shoe should always be on the other foot. Drugs like prison has no prejudice. Well, You Little Brat, thank you very much for that. I think a lot of people enjoyed yesterday's program. And if you missed it, please know that you can always go back on YouTube and Facebook and get all caught up on any of the shows that you missed. And we do post them on the website as well. So I think I have maybe 2 shows I need to post on the website. So we'll put it there so that you can easily find it. Just go to the homepage, find the Cold Hard Truth, and you'll see all the daily shows listed there also. So yeah, it was a fantastic show. Again, thank you to Dr. Johnson. Please give him a like and follow on his Instagram page. And I do want to go and watch his TED Talk because it was definitely awesome. All right. Marshall says, I have a barking collar for my dog. It beeps 3 times and then it goes off and it'll shock him. It keeps him under control. So yeah, mine had the option of like I could set it to just give Coco a warning and stuff as well. Thank you, Anita. She says, good morning, Sandy. I love to watch the Cayman Islands. God bless you always. Thank you. All right, let's bring the premier on. The Honorable Wayne Panton, the premier of the Cayman Islands. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sandra.
How are you?
I hope you are doing well. You seem to be.
Yeah.
And I want to say a special good morning to all of the wonderful people of our incredible Cayman Islands.
Well, so good to see you.
Some are overseas and some are here onshore listening and watching. So good morning to everybody. I hope you're having a great start to the day.
Yes. And this is, the premier comes on every other Wednesday on Premier Access in the evenings, but this is his first time since we've been on Bobo coming on in the morning. So
That's
warm
right.
welcome.
So,
yeah. So our Bobo listeners are getting an extra treat today. So, of course, folks, you're free to call in. The telephone number is 936-BOBO. That's 936-2626. Whatever questions you have for the premier, he's here to answer your questions and comments. And of course, if you're on the live, we're happy to read those as well. So, Lavana, yes, I see you this morning. Indeed. For some reason, I wasn't able to see her comments yesterday, but you are live and direct today, honey chill. Very, very good. Sanya is in the house. She said, good morning, my premier.
Good morning, Sanya. Good morning.
All right. So we got questions coming straight out of the barn for you this morning. First question we got a couple days ago on a previous show. Someone was inquiring, the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, the Cayman Islands has an order that has been handed down to freeze assets. And the question was, what happens to those frozen assets?
Well, that is a bit of a question because for the moment, the assets are just being frozen. I don't, at some point there has to be a decision about how those assets get treated. But at this point, this is being, these assets are being frozen and prevented from being distributed to anyone, and specifically to their, to their listed owners, who are all the subjects of the UK sanctions against Russia. So that's what the position is with that. We don't have any specific instructions at this point that I'm aware of. We have a team within government that is various of the entities and organizations and regulators that are involved with financial services, and they have regular meetings to ensure that we are doing what we're required to do in terms of implementing the sanctions. But where we go from here remains to be seen, and I think effectively, it'll be the subject of probably international discussions down the road as to what happens with those frozen assets. I think a large, as you might imagine, to a large extent, I believe it probably depends on what approach Russia takes in resolving this conflict, because they initiated it. So we'll have to see. For the moment, we're required to freeze them and hold them and not allow any dealings. And we report regularly. I think we're in the region now of about 8 billion, just over 8 billion dollars in assets that have been frozen, and there are a few vessels and aircraft that have been removed from the register here. Not a tremendous amount, I don't think, but the list of sanctioned people are. I haven't looked at the recent number, but it's somewhere north of 800. So as you can imagine, Cayman is a very significant international financial center. So a lot of global investment transactions are done here. So there would be no surprise that some of these persons, some of these 800 plus persons, are owning assets and owning part of investments through Cayman Islands vehicles. It's not that they own it themselves; they're just participating in the investments. So we're on a wait and see in relation to that.
Right. Yes, I'm sure a lot of them have those mega yachts that are actually registered in the Cayman Islands as well. Now, if it's registered here, but we don't physically have the yacht, because of course it's probably in Greece or somewhere else in the world, we can't actually confiscate that, because that would be physical confiscation. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's, other states could possibly do it, but at this point, we have not been asked to confiscate hard assets like vessels and aircraft. Effectively, we are doing what we can to address a scenario where we know that we know that they're owned by persons who are subject to the sanctions. And really, at this point, all we can do is take them off the register. We actually don't have the power right now to organize, the seizing of these assets and holding them. I mean, to be honest, for me, that's a bit of a relief, because when you seize an asset, you have a corresponding obligation to make sure that it's protected in some way, and it's these things are really expensive to maintain. And some of them are worth tens of millions, some hundreds of millions. So you can't just park them and leave them. We don't want the obligation to be responsible for their safekeeping while this issue about what happens with assets that are subject of sanctions gets resolved internationally.
Absolutely. All right. So hopefully that will answer that question. And that's kind of what I was saying as well. I was like, I don't think we could just be like, oh, we're going to redivert these assets, all this money sitting in somebody's bank account to help out NAU. And, it's not that sort of thing. But I feel like it's really, really important for people to understand these processes and how things work, because they just think, oh, wow, we now have money that belongs to somebody else and we can do whatever we want with it. And that isn't quite how the process works.
And there is a distinction, obviously, between seizing an asset for the purpose of controlling it and not allowing it to be dealt with, and forfeiture. So when we're talking about forfeiture, that means effectively forfeiting the asset to the state, to the country. And in that case, you know, if that was the position, then it'd be a whole different story. You know, we'd be in a great position, but that is not that's not what's happening here. The assets are just being frozen for right now.
Yeah. Okay, good. So 936 folks, 2626 is the telephone number. If you have any questions or comments for the premier, we do have some that were sent in on WhatsApp that we'll get to now. So this one is asking about maternity and paternity law. Says that dads get only 5 days according to what is currently allowed. This is not enough time to bond or allow moms to heal. I think I heard that there was going to be some amendment, but haven't heard anything since, and no timeline for when they anticipated it could take effect. So any information on when that might be happening?
Well, we've had a number of discussions on this issue. We've had presentations from groups that are really interested in promoting this, and I think, you know, that people are sympathetic, very sympathetic to those kinds of issues. And for right now, it's for us to make sure that we do the necessary work, to do the at least the initial consultations, to get more guidance as to how we can do this effectively. I mean, you know, it's a question of, you know, who ends up paying for this. Is it the case that employers are required to give workers the time off, some of it paid and some of it unpaid, or is it all paid? Is it at a reduced rate? You know, these types of broad policy issues have to be discussed. And I think based on the discussions that I'm aware of at this point, there is a level of commitment to moving the discussion forward and figuring out what policy position we want to take on it. But this would require amendments to the labor law, obviously. And I think there are broader discussions around aspects of amendments to the labor law that we think are important as well.
Right.
And as you know, we have a minimum wage committee, which is working as well, because we've had a minimum wage basically stuck at $6 an hour for the last 6 or 7 years. I can tell you from my own personal knowledge that being part of the government that implemented that to begin with, it was never intended that it would be left at $6 an hour. It was supposed to be reviewed a year later.
Right.
So for whatever reason, that didn't occur. That was very close to the end of our term at that point. As you know, I sat out the next 4 years, the next term. So I don't know what the thinking was in relation to that, but these are a number of issues that we are working on now to be able to move forward. And I hope that we'll be in a position. I don't think it'll be dealt with, and I don't think we'll have the results of the for example, the minimum wage committee until probably the end of the year, which means we're going to be looking at dealing with any amendments probably the end of the first quarter of next year or something in that area.
Right. So, I mean, obviously you've mentioned that when you're looking at a particular law, you're trying to see what elements of it might require amendment, and there has to be a consultation period, public consultation, and so on. So, you know, that's but one area to that caller's or viewer's point that they believe should be addressed, but minimum wage is another area. Someone else was asking about, I just saw someone, years of service in the organization. I'm thinking that might be, I don't know if that's when you leave the organization, like the compensation, you know how it's what is it? 1 week for every year, I think is the severance pay. Yes. I don't know if Dacia is speaking specifically to severance pay, but
I don't know. I think she may be thinking about additional benefits, but normally benefits that are granted by law are going to be benefits that are available to everybody.
Right. And they'll be at the minimal level, but your employer could always do more.
Exactly. So an employer could say, you know what, I have, or we have difficulties with employee retention, or these are really good people that we want to have on board. We want to retain them. So they look for ways, they look for creative ways to keep their employees happy and engaged. And so they expand the level of benefits. And that may, in that case, they may do that on the basis of, performance assessments. So it's, it's reflected on merit, or they may do it by the length of tenure. They can take different approaches. But yeah, I mean, those are all possibilities.
Very good. Miss Isabel Geiger's in the house. Good morning. Sorry, she says, good morning, Sandy. I wish you were on 24/7. Oh my gosh. Don't think the voice could hold up that long. Dave says, what will the government do about rent being so crazy high?
Well, obviously this issue is connected with the whole issue of housing and availability of housing at a reasonable cost. And, it is something that we are constantly working on and discussing. I mean, just last night, I got home at about 10 o'clock, a little bit after 10 actually, and got straight on the telephone, and I was on the phone until about 12:45 or 1 a.m. Talking to some of the realtors on issues like this, asking for their suggestions on how we can address some of these issues. And it was an extremely productive discussion, but we obviously have a number of different facets that we have to look at here. So we're looking at finance and any issues around that, and putting in place provisions that help to protect the interests of persons who may be, for example, in a default situation. And obviously that's becoming more relevant for us now because of the Federal Reserve increasing the rate in the US, which has a direct implication here for Cayman based on the way the banks operate here. We also have discussions around supply, making sure that the National Housing Development Trust is on track and moving ahead, and making progress with being able to deliver housing as a part of the supply. We also have some of the local developers that are planning. They have subdivisions planned, which is going to involve things that are effectively affordable housing. So we have a range of issues. I think for us in Cayman, we've got to figure out what the solution is, and it's not going to necessarily be some grand announcement about a particular initiative that resolves the problem, because it's a multifaceted problem. And we have to make a number of adjustments, a number of changes to try to help. And this isn't unique to us. It's a challenge that is unfortunately happening around the world, and it is a challenge which a lot of our young people, both globally and certainly here in Cayman, are dealing with. And I think part of the frustration for our people in Cayman is that they see a lot of the significant developments occurring on West Bay Beach, for example, and none of those are available to them, and just not in their price range. So these are this raises the whole question that's always been around about who are we developing for, right? And we have to make sure that we have an answer for that. There has to be benefit. There has to be developments that provide opportunities for our people, not just somebody from China or somebody from Canada or the US or the UK or wherever else who want to come in and buy a multi-million-dollar condo and live in it for a few weeks of the year, and then the rest of the year it stays empty. That doesn't serve our national interest. At least not in that respect.
All right. So we do have some other questions that came in earlier. So this one says, good morning, Sandy. Hope that all is well. If possible, can you please ask Mr. Panton, who's the vast majority in this, it's referring to the survey. So there's multiple people have sent the same question. So I'm just going to ask these. This person says, I can't find one person who's aware of this survey. And these things should at the very least be sent to registered voters. Since we're going to support when elections come around and we have a say at this time, should we not also have a say when it comes to such important decisions being made about our country? And the person went on to say, Sandy, I kid you not, I've contacted almost everyone I know and asked just about everyone in my neighborhood and had friends do the same, and we've all come up empty. No person so far was aware of this survey, and this is simply unacceptable. For these things to take place, and there's no awareness of the general population, especially the registered voters. So that was one person. Another person said, oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Let me move that one out of the way. The other person said, hey, Sandy. Oh, wait, I think I've loaded the same one twice. 1 second. So we had 2 from that person. One more coming in. Mm-hmm. So this is a survey that had to do with, hold on, I think I've reloaded those twice. But basically this, and I didn't see this myself, so I actually don't know where this was put, but let me tell you what this is in relation to. So the Compass had put something up about the your Ministry of Sustainability. And so another person says, ask the Premier if this survey was made public, because not even CMR seems to be aware of it. And many are saying that they weren't aware, interested to know who the vast majority of residents are. And then I'm going to tell you exactly what the survey is. So I don't know.
A little bit of information I need is what survey it is.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oops, there we go. All right. So the vast majority came in. And so this is something from the Compass. So this was some sort of survey that was facilitated by the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Okay, I know what survey this is then.
Yeah. So no one seems to have seen this survey. So do you know anything about how the survey was promoted and how many people participated?
I mean, I think you know that there are efforts always to advise people about these things. There, a lot of social media efforts were employed that I know of. I think they posted it on our website. I can't tell you every single step that was taken to try to make sure that there was local knowledge and participation, but clearly, it reached a lot of people, because I can tell you that I was advised that they were expecting, based on the normal sort of rule of thumb of these types of things, they were expecting somewhere around 350 responses. And we ended up with something close to 1,100, in excess of 1,000, let's say, between 1,000 and 1,100 responses, which, I'm told that is a significant level of response. Now, I don't know why it is that certain people may not have seen it. I think
we didn't. To be honest, I didn't know anything about it. And the rule of thumb for me is if I'm clueless, probably a lot of people are.
Well, I think maybe I'll make sure that in future all these things are given to you. But a lot of effort was made to try to ensure that as many people were aware of it as possible. This was a survey that was done in connection with the climate change risk assessment that was being we've been carrying out. We've had public meetings. We had a public meeting at the Georgetown Town Hall. And one of the issues is that I personally would like to see more involvement of the various districts, presentations in these districts on issues like this. But there was a meeting at South Sound Hall that I don't think was open to the public. That was key stakeholders and some of the participants. And then there was a big public meeting at the Georgetown Hall where I went and I spoke. And I think you will remember.
I remember you came on the show that same evening.
Same night that I had a show with you. Same evening I had a show with you. So I went there, I stayed, I spoke for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I left and I came and got straight on the show with you. And then after that, I went back. After the show finished, I went back. we had lots of Caymanians there. I mean, a lot of people were aware of it. We had a very good turnout. It was somewhere, I want to say it was probably close to about 100 people. You know, for the town hall, that's a pretty significant turnout. So a lot of people, I think, were aware of it. It may be that, you know, we all have our particular interests, and some people may not have been, you know, paid attention to that. But well, I think the challenge for us is to constantly try to figure out how we can, you know, improve our level of engagement. But either way,
so I've gotten some. Someone has sent me some information. They said 1,085 persons responded. I mean, that might be a lot compared to, I suppose, what normally respond, but that's a drop in the bucket when you think about even how many voters we have, much less if we're looking at Cayman residents, right? So the majority of respondents were between the ages of 35 to 54 years of age. Most were female. And the majority of respondents possess either a bachelor's or graduate degree and reported being employed full time. But again, I think I'm curious to know where this survey was actually shared, because if you're missing, you know, climate resiliency and climate change impacts everybody, not just the 35 to 54-year-olds. Everybody has to care about this issue. And I just feel like a lot of times this happens with initiatives I see happening in government. Like people just don't know about it. I was having a conversation with the deputy governor yesterday, and I said to him, listen, we get stuff from Cayman Brac all the time at Cayman Brac events. We have a community calendar. We share it on there. We share it on social media because we know some people don't know the community calendars on the website. So if they miss that, we'll put it on our Facebook page. You know, social media has a wide reach. We'll talk about it in the show because some people listen to the show and they don't have social media. So you've got to do a sort of 360 comprehensive approach to getting the word out there. And, you know, even with government job adverts, you know, sometimes they send me a job advert, although I think I need to change my strategy, Premier, because I've been posting them up and they get tons of applicants. I'm like, hold on a second. If they sent this to the Compass, they'd actually have to pay money to have it advertised. So I need to start thinking like a business person. So caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
How are you?
Not bad. I think the problem is that it sounds great to say that each state of government has a website and you post it on the relevant website. Sounds good in theory, except that from the perspective of the individual, that's overwhelming. You can't keep track of stuff that's all over the place with agencies that you don't even know what they're named and when they change their name and all sorts of things. I think you need to have a portal. Now, I think government needs to have one place that that information like this gets sent to. Even if they want to post it on an individual website, that's fine. But you need to have a central place where people can go to where they say, I know that if government is telling the public something, it'll be on this website. That's simple.
Yeah.
Because people having to go looking all over the place for agencies they don't even know exist, that's not practical.
I mean, in theory, Denny, the gov.ky website should be that website because it then links to a lot it links a lot of the other sites, right? But again, people will find this at times probably a little bit confusing because there are so many government departments and agencies and ministries. And so, you know, sometimes it takes a minute to even be able to find something on any website, regardless of kind of where you're going to find it. You know, there's quite a bit of information. I'm just having a quick look at the government website right now.
Well, let me just add that I think that you know, clearly the communications department in government are obviously aware of the challenges of being able to reach as many people as possible, and they don't just post it on websites. You know, they proactively do lots of different social media posts. They put it on Instagram. They do Facebook. I'm not sure what other platforms they use, but at the end of the day, they are pushing it out there, trying to be proactive, trying to ensure that there is much participation as possible. I do think that there may be some merit to having a specific sort of channel that, you know, people know if there is sort of interaction that the government is seeking, that they sort of can monitor or can go to and check from time to time. And I will raise that with the comms group. But I do think,
let me give one example.
But let me just say, it's one of the challenges is we don't know how many people we have reached. We don't know who we have reached, but we can only measure who has responded. So, you know, the response has been much better than predicted. But as you say, there may be people in particular areas that haven't seen it, not aware of it. And I think we have to constantly face the challenge of doing a better job and trying to make sure that the people of the country are aware of these things as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, it is important for us to be aware of their views.
Yeah. Is there any way to, because a lot of people, I have someone else just mentioned that said survey, what survey? Is there any way to reopen this particular survey if more people want to participate? Because I think this is probably one of those that we could get way more than just 1,000 people.
Well, I mean, the report is due this month. Sorry. Yeah, this month. We're September 1st, right? The report is due this month. It's due in a couple of weeks, I think. On this particular issue, but there can be many other issues that we improve our engagement on. I don't know whether we can delay the report and run another survey to get greater feedback. I don't know if we're going to end up with greater feedback. We'd have to see. But I think, again, if you end up with 2 surveys, then you've got to figure out how much is a duplication. It gets confusing, I think. So I will have a discussion, but I can see the difficulties of trying to run another survey. This is not a yes and no type thing. You know, there's a whole range of different questions, trying to gauge what people's understanding are of this issue, what their particular concerns are. How, is it a significant issue for them? To be honest, when we're talking about an existential issue, between us having a future in 30 to 40 years time in the country for our children, and a legacy that we leave behind in which they can successfully prosper in the way we have, that's a very significant thing. So let me have a discussion and see whether it's possible to do something like that. But it may be that we'll just have to get much better at ways of trying to get this out. And this has been a challenge all along for years, decades.
And I'll be honest with you, Premier. Someone said to me, a press release was sent out on these dates, and I know the communications arm of government loves a press release. And I keep saying to people, even on this program, believe me when I tell you, people don't read. You send out a press release. Number one, most of them are way too long. They read the first paragraph and that's it. They check out. So send your press release, sure, because that's what you've been doing for 50 years and you think that's the end all and be all. But there has to be other mechanisms of reaching the people. Here's a perfect example. When the hazmat people launched the emergency, what's it called? The emergency app, right? Where you'll get these emergency alerts, whatever. We invited them on the program, went through with people. This is how you sign up. This is what you do. And in real time, people were doing it. They were signing up. They were reporting, okay, I couldn't get past this stage. I was having this issue. And they saw the number of people who registered for that shoot up immediately. Same thing with the HSA. We kind of had to beg them to come on and show people how to register for that portal. Oh no, just tell them to go to the website. I'm like, listen to me. People need the visual. They need to see how it's done. They need you there to answer any questions they may have. And, it sounds like such a simple method, but anybody who's ever been a teacher, an instructor, whatever, knows that showing is much better. We could have literally sat here, said, here's a link for the survey. Let's all go fill it out in real time. I would have loved to fill it out. I didn't do it. we could easily quadruple those numbers for you. So I hope that whoever is in charge of that survey considers maybe extending it even by a week. That's all we need. And I can guarantee you we can quadruple your numbers in a week. But I'll leave that for you. Denny, anything else on your mind before we continue with other questions?
One example of consolidating information is the Gazette. Like if you go to the legislation website, you can't look back and see the Gazettes. You have to go to a different website. That's an example. So like someone who might not be that familiar with it might look for it and say, well, I don't see it here. And then and so you then have to know to go to another website to look for other Gazette documents. And and things that are in relation to legislation or the legislative process, I should say, should be on the legislation website, Gazette-wise.
Yeah.
So that you can have access to all of the information as it pertains to legislation.
Right.
But that's just an example of what I'm saying about. I understand that we're trying to transition from an old way of doing things to a new way of doing things. I understand that things take time and it takes money, and sometimes you have to work out what is the best way to do something. I understand those things. I'm just pointing it out as all I'm saying.
Okay, thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, Mr. Basil Hamilty says third-party services such as SurveyMonkey. I'm sure they had it. I don't think the delivery of the survey was really the issue. It's just trying to get the word out there. And so again, you hit it from all angles, folks. Web placement, social, emails, send out emails. Please take this survey. Any way that you can get it. So Nathina has a question about an anti-bullying law. She's asking, when is that going to be passed? Because she was told that it should be dealt with this month.
So we do have, we're moving forward with the changes to the education education law or act by way of an amendment bill. We have proposed regulations as well. So after some time, I'm really happy to be able to say that we're moving forward, there's traction, and it will go to Parliament. We're going to be addressing this concern that everybody understands is really important. I know that you often cover stories about fights in school, for example. These things are all involved with issues around bullying and issues around behavior that is antisocial and not acceptable. So, and this is really obviously very relevant right now because we are at the point of going back to school for the new school year. We have kids that are some have started back already. Some are starting this week or maybe next week. So it's really important, and I want our children to get the benefit of having this kind of protection, having these sorts of policies, which will help to eliminate or significantly reduce these types of issues. Because when they go to school, we want them to be safe. We want them to be in an environment where they can learn, and we want them to be happy. And this is an issue that I think has sat around for a while, and I'm really happy, really happy to say that we're going to be able to move forward and address this. And I certainly thank the Ministry of Education for getting this to the point that we're at. We're right on the cusp of getting this in place. The Deputy Speaker and Parliamentary Secretary for Education as well, Ms. Kathy Ebanks-Wilkes, was very much involved with that. And the interesting aspect in relation to her is that she was an employee of the Law Reform Commission. So she actually worked with the Law Reform Commission in this area while the report was being done on this and the recommendations being made. So the report was presented to caucus and cabinet and accepted, and the drafting instructions were taken forward. So we're right on the cusp of getting this done, and I think it's really, really important, and the timing couldn't be better to make sure that we can get this in place to start to positively impact the experiences of our wonderful young people in schools for this school year. So that's all fantastic, and I certainly want to encourage every child. I want to encourage parents to be very positive. I think the journey of education is not just about school. It is about parents being sure that they impart a level of positivity and strong influence over their children. Clarity that that education is important, and they need to be committed to that, and the child needs to be committed to it. And I want to encourage all of them to ensure, whether they're family members, parents, or whether they're caregivers, whoever it is, whoever comes in contact with our children, I want to encourage them to all be positive and contribute and work hard. Let's have a great environment. I know it's an exciting time, particularly for the younger children, but it's also very exciting for those who are older, who are changing years, perhaps looking at different sort of career paths for themselves, getting near the end of their high school experience, and it can be a little bit anxious as well for a lot of them, So we want to be positive and encouraging, and we want the environment to be great. And the anti-bullying provisions, I think, are going to, and the policies around that are going to play a significant role in assisting us be able to make this a great, positive, wonderful, encouraging experience for our children. So remember as well, we we committed to making sure that our kids got the proper nutrition. We have high schools and primary schools where we have free lunches, breakfast, snacks. It reflects a significant commitment of the country and the government to ensuring that our children have the best possible potential to learn and grow and develop. So just to say, I'm encouraging parents, encouraging everyone to take advantage of the new opportunities that this new school year presents. And I want you all have a wonderful time.
All right. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning, honey child. How are you today?
Oh, honey child, I'm good. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored beyond all measures.
As always.
Good morning,
Isn't that
Premier.
wonderful?
Good morning, dear.
Yes, it is. Premier, your food for thought. Regarding our school system, our neighbor countries that I have traveled, if a child does not meet a standard, does not pass their subjects or their year, they repeat them. A hearing came on, whether they pass or not, they're just pushing them through the system. At the end of the day, it's not being taken seriously. They're out there doing drugs and committing crime to survive. Why can't our system start, because I've been asking for years, why can't we show more interest in our children by having them repeat if they do not pass, to ensure that they're coming out with some sort of education?
Well, this
I have other questions, but I've written them already.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you make a very good point. It does raise some very significant issues, and it's a challenge, and it's an issue that has been debated back and forth for a long time. We have had times in our history where we've done just that. We've had people repeat years, and I think more recently, I guess, I don't know what the time frame might be, but probably maybe 10 years. We've had less of that. We've had this concept of progressing people through school. If we're going to have that approach, then clearly what it does is it puts us under a much greater obligation to try to ensure that the child is maximizing its ability to, the child's ability to learn and develop as a young person, so that they become well-rounded, developed adults who are able to go on to have good careers and contribute to society and have wonderful families and all that. So, this is a discussion that, I'm not the expert on education policy, but clearly this is an issue that has been discussed, and maybe it's time to have another discussion about it. I'll have a discussion with the education minister, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Conley, and see what her thoughts are. I haven't had any recent briefing on this particular point, so I don't have much that I can tell you in that context.
Yes,
about
I think it needs to be. It should be evaluated. And I tell you what, recently I was doing a school tour at one of the private schools, and they were saying to me that they have Caymanian children that come into their school. For the first time, I think they've had, I believe it's 7 or 8 kids that have been given, scholarships at no cost to them or their parents to be able to attend the school. Some of the children went in there, and when they were testing, because this school is based on the American system, and they do the IB program.
Baccalaureate, international.
Yes, the baccalaureate. Yes. And they discovered that, especially for math and the sciences, one young lady, for example, would have been struggling tremendously if they had put her in the grade equivalent that she was in the government system. So she decided, with her parents and consulting with everyone, to go back a year, because again, it was going to give her an opportunity to kind of get caught up, to learn some things that she may have missed in chemistry and math and whatever, so that she could prepare herself for the eventual additional classes and examinations. So I think that caller certainly brings up a really good point, that if a child isn't ready, and I don't know, this is a question about the government system that I don't personally know, but how are they even assessing a child's readiness to then move on to the next grade? So Jean says, I know someone who asked for their child to repeat a year and was told no. And the interesting thing is, it shouldn't be for a parent to be making that assessment or to be asking that question. I mean, obviously a parent might see their children are struggling, but there should be some formal assessment process within the school system itself that identifies, students who are not ready, who've not passed a minimal set of criteria to then move on to the next grade. Warren has a wonderful suggestion. He says, what about weekend classes? I can no longer identify and say that I'm a super young person, but I still think I'm relatively young.
I don't feel that way.
Yeah, but I remember Premier Panton, when I was in the 7th grade. I mean, this was eons ago now.
Yes.
When I was in the States, and I remember that they had an after-school program. They actually had a toll-free number that you could call and get help with homework assignment. These were sometimes retired teachers or professors who had extra time or whatever. And they actually had, if you needed science, you would press this number. If you needed help with math, or you didn't understand how this equation was working and you just needed help with your homework, you could call the after school hotline, and there are people there answering the phone, helping you with your homework, helping you understand concepts and theories, maybe giving you additional. Back then, we weren't really using the internet. So they'd refer to you like, okay, maybe try to look up this section in your book and let's go through this and make sure that you're understanding the core principles. And I've always wondered, I mean, it seems relatively easy for something like that to be implemented. You could even utilize volunteers, because there might be retired teachers and so on who are just looking for something to do, who might be happy to give of their time. But I've always wondered why we don't have more, even outside the classroom, more opportunities for children to have, further assistance if they need it.
Yeah,
and not to say
I agree with that.
We all need help.
I totally agree. And, if you look at our education results, they are trending upwards. So the results are improving. But I personally feel that they could be better. And I think we should all aspire as a country to have our children just generally, I mean, society generally, be better informed, better educated, be able to take advantage of the jobs that exist. Because, you know, one of the issues we have had is, as you know, and this is a part of the sort of underlying factor in a number of the issues that we may have here. As wonderful as Cayman is compared to many other countries around the world, we all know we have our problems, and some of the issues relate to the fact that we've grown an economy, we've grown a country which is much bigger than the Caymanians that we have necessarily to fill all the roles. So we have a really high level or a high number of guest workers, work permit holders, and many of these jobs. So our challenge is not creating jobs. Our challenge is to make sure that our Caymanian people are educated and be able to take advantage of a lot of these opportunities that are out there, and to be able to, you know, to move up and improve the circumstances for their families, etc. And areas around, for example, English and math in particular, I think the English results have been fairly good and improving, but we actually have, I think, a lag in terms of math. And these are really in particular in the changing macroeconomic environment, in the fact that, you know, we have technology being a more significant role in a lot of the things we do in our economy and in our country. Math is an important area that we need to be able to improve on, and we're not, you know, we're lagging behind in math statistics as far as I'm aware. And this is something that more recently, I think over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been having discussions with people about, you know, addressing the same things that you were just mentioning, about being able to have mentoring, to have additional classes, have support being provided to our students, so that, you know, we can sort of bridge some of the gaps and build on that as we continue to try to improve the level of learning in our schools. I mean, our teachers, the cadre of teachers we have are wonderful, and we respect them. We support them as much as we can. And I think that, you know, as I said, the general trend is an improvement, but I think there are areas that we have to make sure that we try to fill some of the gaps, bridge some of the gaps, and try to advance things. And I would like personally to see more of that happening in different communities. I don't know, you know, there are NGOs that do a lot of work around a variety of needs in our country, and in things like learning, we have a wonderful organization called Life, which is learning is for everyone, I think. And I think they've been doing a good job. To be honest, yesterday I was planning to, I made a mental note to contact some of the people who are involved with that, to see what we can do to encourage more activity across the spectrum in supporting our children and helping to you know, improve some of the grades, particularly in areas around English and math, because those are areas that are really important, not just for communication, not just for our ability to write CVs, but, you know, math is a strong background subject that helps us in a broad variety of areas, as I said, particularly in relation to our changing economic environment. So I want to see this done. I want to try to, you know, do everything we can to help our children develop further and learn a lot more.
Well, we have quite a few people who are weighing in on this one. Lavana says that this is so true. that she remembers when she went to school, and that wasn't yesterday, trust me. And she graduated, and there were still a lot of people who couldn't read and write. Moya says, this is true. And an FOI I did to education department a few years ago showed that only 20% of the government school children leave year 6 at the required level to be successful in school. So that means that 80% of our children are struggling and failing, and they keep pushing them forward. Judy says, I think we also need to be mindful that many children are not academically inclined. So having them repeat doesn't necessarily mean that they will learn. It's more of recognizing what each student is lacking and offering extra classes for them or teaching them a skill. Yeah. And I don't know how academically inclined is being determined, but you should have the basics. Like you should know how to read and write and do the basic math. And that doesn't mean that you're going to turn out to be an academia and you're going to be a professor or a lawyer or doctor, but you don't have to be academically inclined. Again, I'm not sure how that is really being defined, to be able to just read and write. I mean, those are the basics. No matter if you're a mechanic, if you're a housekeeper, domestic worker, you should know how to read and write. So there's some basic standards I think that we need to encourage everyone to reach, and not even the message that we send out to our children, like for them to think that is somehow because you know how to read and write, that somehow makes you academically brilliant, isn't the case. I mean, listen, I've seen lawyers. I just saw a letter this week from one, and I was like, this person should go back to remedial school and learn how to construct a proper sentence. Sorry?
So are you picking on lawyers?
Yes, this every single sentence was a run-on sentence and 5 lines long and comma, comma, comma. I'm like, oh, the sentence structure, the clarity was in there. I mean, it was horrific. And, they are a qualified lawyer and they've been practicing for many, many years, and they're like 50, 60 years old. So, it doesn't, one thing I want to say, the expectations that we set for children are extremely important. If you tell your children day in and day out that, oh, you don't have to be academically inclined, they will interpret that to mean that they don't even have to try in school. Yeah. So, we're not saying everyone is going to be brilliant. Everyone's going to be, a scientist, whatever, but you've got to really push your children to do their best and to give their best every single day. Now, we do have an interesting bit of information that has come up, and I'm going to have a read of this because this is probably a much deeper conversation. But someone says that the research is clear that grade retention is not effective over time. It is related to many negative academic, social, and emotional outcomes for students, especially students of color who have been retained. There is also clear evidence that after intervention, such as targeted intensive tutoring, expanded learning time, and supporting strong relationships between adults and students, have much better outcome for students. And yes, I think all of those things are important. And it's also important to know, again, what the criteria is that students are being judged by. So Nathina, your bullying question has been answered. If you miss it, just kind of scroll back a little bit. Dean, joining us from overseas, says that he's listening and just wanted you to know that he's joining, I believe he said earlier, from Jamaica. Steb says just the thought of repeating will make some kids work harder and thus making them better school leavers. Maybe, but I think there's a lot of support that needs to be there from the parental side and otherwise. We do have, Denny, I forgot about you. We have another caller coming in. So let me just grab this caller and then we'll end, because I know the premier has given us a limited amount of time this morning. We do have another guest. So Denny, if you can make your comments or questions as succinct as possible. Denny? No? Caller? Hello? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Anybody on the line? I showed 2 people. Oh, my apologies. Hold on. That's my mistake. There we go. Now you're in Bluetooth. Morning, callers. Hi, Denny.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing quickly before I make the statement I wanted to make.
Okay.
I can hear you clearly,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounds like there's a noise gate. Perhaps the premier is not close enough to his mic, so parts of his words are getting chopped off.
Okay. And we're going to address that for next time as well. I think he needs a lapel mic to resolve that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the point that I wanted to make is that I think what would be most beneficial for improving education is to have a sufficient amount of teachers' aides in each classroom to help the teacher bring along students who might be slower in grasping a concept in real time, instead of pushing them off to some additional program. So they just, sometimes people just need a little bit of extra help in the moment to get it, and then they can just keep going, and their self-esteem will be better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then what that does is it prevents the gaps from taking place in the first place.
And this
so
is
I
where
see that,
early,
I see that.
Yeah, early childhood care is so critical. And I see that, you know, when you read the educational reports, a lot of our early childhood programs, or I don't know if we really want to call them institutions, but, you know, daycare centers and whatever, they're not meeting the mark. And those first 5 years of a child's life are the most important, even in terms of a child's educational attainments later on in life. So knowing that, we really need to, you know, brush up on some of these so-called daycare centers that we're allowing to operate, and the standards by which, you know, by which they're allowing to keep their doors open. I mean, we just need better standards overall.
I agree with that. And what I'd like to say is that when people think about public schools and private schools, people normally give private schools glowing remarks. But really and truly, what I'm describing there about being able to catch these issues in real time and address them before they become more serious problems is really the difference. And so where our effort needs to be is in preventing children from falling behind. And I don't agree with the idea that somehow children are not academically inclined. Any child can learn to read, write, and do math. We just need to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I agree with that comment. I mean, you know, some people will have more interest, some people will have less interest in these areas, but I do fundamentally believe that, you know, there is a level of achievement that all children are probably capable of. I have a young person who I worked with, who I helped go to a special needs school in the US, and that young person, and I'm trying to be vague so that I don't divulge who it is, but that young person went through that school, improved, but with the guidance and with the support and with the, you know, the positive encouragement, that young person went on to a full-fledged recognized university in the US and graduated with a finance degree, with something like a GPA of around 3.7, 3.8. That is fantastic performance when you start off in a situation where you've got, you know, some degree of learning disabilities. So I would encourage everybody to not feel that because somebody has some kind of potential learning disability that it's going to limit them in life. There are ways to overcome this, and we just have, as a country, as a community, as an education system, we have to do whatever we can to try to overcome those and help our children achieve. Because as everybody has said, and a lot of the comments, very good comments, by the way, you know, it makes for a better society, more confident society, and this is and people who feel a greater sense of happiness, a greater sense of accomplishment, a greater sense of achievement. And this is exactly what we want for our country. This is exactly what we want for our young people. So for me, it's, you know, I'm committed to doing as much as we can to try to make this a reality.
Absolutely. And let me just share, Danny, we do have another caller who's said they're waiting for you to wrap up, but let me just quickly share this point from the perspective of personal experience, because I think, a lot of times people are listening and sometimes they are, there's a stigma attached to having any sort of learning disability, or there's a stigma attached to our own personal histories. Like nobody wants to say, oh, I was that kid. And I am more than happy to tell anybody in the world that I was that kid when I was in the Cayman Islands. So eventually, she was principal at a school, head of, I don't know, all her positions, politician, supposed to be a big time educator. This individual, and I'm not going to call her name, she's still very much alive and kicking, actually told my parents that I needed to be put in Lighthouse School because I was a slow learner. Now make that sink in for a minute, because when I went to the US, nobody told me that I was a slow learner. They're like, here is where you're at. You're in the 4th grade. This is the criteria. This is what you need to do. By the time I reached high school, I was in AP classes, advanced placement classes, doing college level work in high school. I hate math with a passion. So I must admit, it took a little bit, this is just a mental block. It took a little bit of extra for me to do well in math, but I got up to algebra. I didn't want to do advanced placement math because I'm like, nope, this is not the field that I'm going in. I have a different direction. But even to get to algebra, when I was going to trigonometry, I'm like, no, please don't make me do this. I really don't like math and I don't want to go to that level. So I picked up on other, social sciences, languages, and other things that I was really good at. It doesn't mean that I wasn't academic. And I don't know to this day how that person came to the conclusion that I was special needs and needed to be put in a Lighthouse School. But imagine the different outcome in my life had I stayed in the Cayman Islands and been sent to Lighthouse School. We as parents and adults, and sometimes so-called educators who are supposed to be the experts, are limiting children. We put the limitations on them, and we put ideas in the heads of parents and even the children, right, that will hold them back. I have seen children in this community that have been labeled as special needs that only had a sight problem. There was nothing mentally wrong with them in any way, shape, or form. But because of the limitations of the support around them, the family not understanding that this person could have been a lawyer, they could have been a doctor, they would have just needed different types of technology to help with the sight problem. They could have been anything in the world. Instead, they were relegated to Lighthouse School. Yeah. Nice young lady, you sit in the corner and you help with the other severely handicapped children. So we ourselves do our children a disservice by limiting them, by putting them in a box. And I have worked with a few special needs persons. I remember once I took a young lady overseas and we were in the mall and, had a conversation with someone. And after we walked away, I said, by the way, do you know that young lady has something called Down syndrome? And I kind of explained very rudimentary what Down syndrome was. And this Caymanian child was shocked. She's like, she does? And I said, yeah. She had a more, a fuller conversation with us as a person who actually had, that type of learning disability, Down syndrome, than the young lady who only had a sight problem. And to me, when that sunk in, I'm like, oh my God, Cayman is not prepared to deal with any child that does not fall out of that narrow range of what we consider normal. And that includes extremely brilliant kids. So if a child is really, really smart and advanced, we hold them back. We do all sorts of things that negatively impact their progress. And so, I think we definitely need, somebody said to invite the education minister in the show. I think we need to be talking about this particular issue a lot more. There are a lot of people who, for whatever reason, may not have obtained a high school diploma, but these people are well-read, they're well-informed, they're intelligent individuals, and they could be anything in the world that they want to be. Denny, some final comments, and then we'll take one last caller, and then we're going to allow the premier to go because I know he's got some stuff scheduled.
I think instead of coming to a premature conclusion that a child is not academically inclined, they should look at what you're essentially describing is more of specialization. So you say, well, I'm going to specialize in language because I don't like math, right? I don't think you should just put this blanket thing out there to write someone off to say that you're not academic. That's destructive.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be using that kind of language.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right. We got one more caller. I'm going to join in, and I know we have a queue. So the first caller, if you can go ahead with your comments or questions.
Good morning, Sandy. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
Good morning, Mr. Premier.
Good morning.
I just have one quick query to ask, and I hope you have enough time left to give a full answer on it. So I know we would have all seen the headlines and the reports that came out earlier this year that said young people from Cayman are being priced out of buying homes and of buying land. And it's a very, very serious concern that I have now. I did all the right things. I went to school, I went to high school, I went to uni, I got a job at a good firm, and I bought my piece of land, but my heart breaks, for my fellow countrymen and women who come to me every day and say, I have a good job, the bank won't give me a loan. When I finally do get a loan, the bank tells me that, someone else has swooped in and gotten it and offered far more money. And I just don't see our government doing anything to address that concern. And I don't blame PAC, because I think this problem goes back, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. This should have been stopped a long, long time ago. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around what PAC is going to do, if anything, to try and curb this. And I'll leave you with one story from just last month. I work at a firm. Our firm has a real estate client. One person in that real estate firm sold a piece of land in Bordentown to a client for a large sum of money. The person who sold the land came in here 3 months before on a work permit, and he sold that land to someone who's never touched our soil. There was a big party about all the money he made, and we all came down, and he'd been here 3 months. He sold a piece of our land to someone who's never set foot here. He made the sale on Zoom, right? And people were celebrating, and they were saying, "Oh, what a good job." And for someone like me, who has, friends, family, people who are 60, people who are 30, saying, they never got a chance, they were priced out. That's nothing to celebrate for us, right? Absolutely nothing. And I know, I don't know why we can't do something. I know I was talking to a lawyer from, I believe it was Bermuda, who said expats have to live there 15 years. They have to apply for PR, and then they can buy a piece of land. Now, I know that if that law can fly there, it can certainly fly here. Mm-hmm. We are both beneath the crown. So there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't seek to do something like that now. And I just want to know why. Why have we let this get so bad? That we talk about our kids in school, that's one thing, but they can grow up, they can get great jobs, and by the time they're 25, they will not be able to buy a single piece of land or a house. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I'll leave that with you, and I just want to know what you're doing, because I voted for people in the PAC, because everyone said Cayman first. We're going to work for the people of Cayman. We're going to try and improve the lives of our people here first. And I've yet to see any of that done. Mm-hmm. It's been well over a year. It's been well over a year. I've seen no bills. I've seen nothing that would fundamentally help us. And I just want to know why.
Mm-hmm. All right, caller. We have one additional caller. So let's go ahead and wrap up the callers, and then Premier will give you an opportunity to respond to that caller. Good morning and welcome to the program. Hello? Uh-oh. Caller? Hello? No. All right. Let's grab the other one. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Premier. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm good.
Fine, thank you. You're well.
This is This is Nathina. I must say I agree with the caller just now in regards to our opportunities as Caymanians coming forward with about purchasing land.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't call it in regards to that. I call it in regards to agreeing with you, Sandy, in what you spoke about earlier. If you had went to Lighthouse School and where you would have transitioned and become the person you would have become today, because with my son, which I think the whole island should now be aware of, whose brain shut down last year in regards to being bullied at Bordentown Primary School.
Mm-hmm.
And when he started John Gray now here just this week, they called me the day before to tell me, say he's part of a nurture group that they're now having. And the education department seemed to have created this group, put my son into a group without advising me. And then when I went to meet with the school in regards to this nurture group, I saw the kids on top of the roof at John Gray High School and the new facility, and they tell me about it's safe. And then the nurture group is about having the kids who have special needs, who suffers from seizures and other situations like what my son went through.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I was like, why put the kids on the roof for introduction? Is that safe, not knowing the temperament of some of these kids?
Mm.
I mean, the Mr. Smith, who I met with, told me about it's safe, and it was approved by education department. So I think Mr. Pants, our premier, and Honorable Julia O'Connor, and needs to get the parents involved when they pre-make decisions for our children. Because the nurture group, according to my understanding, is supposed to just allow the kids, it's basically a free space just for them to be in there and they're learning just the basics. They don't get that access to high school. They don't experience that high school experience because for them, that's their way of protecting the kids from being bullied, which is why I kept asking about the bullying law, which you were freezing a lot over the video was being frozen for me, so I couldn't hear the whole conversation, what Mr. Panton passed in regards to that. But something needs to be done about the schools because our kids are going through the system not learning. And it's either we need to vote in a whole new set of people in the next election or people need to step down. But nothing is happening and this nurture group needs to be looked into.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, we welcome the education minister. We welcome the chief officers, anyone who wants to reach out and talk to the people of the Cayman Islands. You're more than welcome to come and explain, sometimes you guys set up these programs. What sort of input did you get from the parents, the children? Why do you think this program is going to work? Explaining these things, I think, to the stakeholders, who in this case are the parents and the students, most importantly, is something that would be helpful. So we'll let the premier respond to that. And we do have one other question here that says, can you also add to the premier that properties that have been foreclosed on are not available for Caymanians to purchase, and they're being peddled off to real estate agents who are then willing to sell to outside investors. So again, this goes back to maybe something a bit different going on in the housing market. So any considerations? Is the government thinking about putting any limitations on purchasing property? Who can purchase? Any of that in your minds at this time?
I think, Sandy, as I said earlier, right, this is a multifaceted problem. And it is one which requires careful consideration and a careful approach. We have taken a different route than many other countries in the Caribbean. Some other countries have limitations on, ownership of land. Historically, we have not done that. So it is, trying to change that very quickly and making a significant about face is going to be a bit of a shock. It is going to possibly cause some problems, but that's not, to me, if you're trying to address the problem that Caymanians are having, to me, nothing is off the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to consider a variety of issues. Now, we have internally in government, we have a housing task force, which is a cross ministry task force. So it's there, we even have people in tourism involved. So with the Ministry of Tourism, we have the various ministers, planning, myself, the tourism minister, we have the deputy premier. So we have a variety of people who are involved in this. And we're looking at across the spectrum at how we address these issues. Now, one of them is obviously facilitating the supply of housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand fundamentally what is driving demand for housing, because once you understand what is driving the demand, then you might have some insight into how we address this, right? We have to improve access to financing. These are issues that I think are becoming more relevant now because the interest rate environment has changed and it's going up. We have significant cost of living issues. We have relatively high levels of inflation, and none of this is helping the situation. We also have issues about access to rental housing. Some people, no matter how much we desire it, some people are just not going to be in a position for some time to be able to own their own property. So we have to be concerned about the rental housing areas as well, and there are lots of issues that affect that. There's lots of concern around Airbnb, for example, being utilized as an avenue for people to convert from long-term rentals into short-term rentals, and in theory, if not in practice, obtain a higher return on their properties.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to figure out how we improve. And then we've had this discussion on the show before about the issues around the quality of rental housing. So we have a huge range of issues to be involved with. The Ministry of Lands is involved with this. As I said, I'm involved, Deputy Premier, Minister of Tourism, and the Planning Minister. We're all involved with it because we recognize that it's a very significant issue, and we're gathering information, working with different people, talking to different. So I mentioned to you in the early part of the show that I spent about an hour and a half last night, late at night, on the phone with a real estate agent, trying to understand, some of the issues that from their perspective, and listening to some of their proposed solutions. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I think we're going to be in a position to be able to move forward with, start to take some steps to make some changes that will bring about some positive change. But I don't want to give the impression that we haven't been doing anything, because we have. Many of us campaigned on people, Caymanians, being able to get beyond just the current or the established sort of single home first purchase approach. So we have been granting waivers for people who are, for example, buying their second property. Not complete waivers necessarily. We look at the situation, but this is something that I believe needs to be set out in a proper framework with a proper policy, a clear policy, so that people are completely aware of it. But we have made a difference with a lot of people. We have people who have applied for, obtained abatements. So it is working, but we've got to get all the different facets and all the different factors working together to make a difference. There is not going to be a silver bullet with it, right? It's not something that we can snap our fingers. And as I said to you, we have challenges all around the world with this sort of issue. You may have seen there was a video that was going around over the last, probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, about people in Hawaii, for example, who are finding it very difficult to be able to afford to live in their own country, their own state, I guess you would call that. And so it's not just Cayman, but we've got to find the solutions for us that work for us, and that may mean changing some of the established norms. That may mean that some people are not very happy about it. Obviously, we can't derail the economy. We can't completely, make changes that put at risk our economic prosperity and the success that we have had, because that means that we won't be able to address a lot of the other problems that we have. Trust me, as much of the problems that we have today, if you compare some of our neighbors, they have the same problems, they have more problems, and they have a lack of financial resources to address those. So we need to be the masters of our own destiny. We need to make sure that we're being able to deliver for our people, and particularly for our young people, because the caller earlier, the young man earlier who called, clearly is very, very passionate about that. His anecdote, the story that he put forward is a compelling one. It's one that's, that's sad. It's very concerning. And this is our country we're talking about. These are our lands. This is our country. And we have got to be able to control the future and the prospects for our young people in this country. It is a broad issue, and we combine it with the existential risks of climate change and all this type of stuff. There are lots of challenges, but we're moving forward, and I'm confident that we're going to have more and more solutions to address the broad spectrum of issues. Things in Cayman are not in a bad place at all, but we've got to get better with it. We've got to move forward. And I am, and my colleagues in government, my government, we're all committed to the same thing, and that is making a difference in the quality of our lives of our people. That includes all these particular issues. It includes education. It includes making sure that we address and improve the access to affordable homes for our young people. So these are basic issues of education and shelter and protection and security and opportunity, and we are working hard to make sure that all these things come together. I'm gonna leave you with that. But
yes, and thank you very much. I was just saying to someone that it's obvious that Premier Access has now moved to the morning show. We're going to have you come on the morning show because the questions are coming in fast and furious, folks. But unfortunately, the Premier does have to go, and we do have another guest who's been patiently waiting in the back room as well. But just one quick thing, Renee's asking if there's a national housing in Cayman. There is, and we have invited them on the program. I tried chasing them up yesterday to pin down a date of when they can come in and talk about the actual, options that they have available. There is a National Housing Trust. They offer low-income housing, and they've got a lot of projects going on. So again, we're pleading for Mr. Ramos to make time for the people of the Cayman Islands to come on the program and to be made aware of what programs you have and how they can apply and find out more about it. So all these government agencies and departments, they say they're working overtime, they're doing all sorts of stuff, but it's for naught if people don't even know about it, like honestly.
Yeah.
All right.
I will encourage them to come on and participate. It's the National Housing Development Trust. I will encourage them to come on and schedule a show with you. But I also think that it would be really good to have a discussion around education as well.
Absolutely. So encourage the minister. I've been messaging her for the past whatever time she's been in. This last time, she's welcome to come on. Jonathan is saying he can give us 5 more minutes. He's actually given us 37 minutes over the initial intent. So Dr. Tahir has a question about doctors. We're going to just have the Premier back on So have your questions ready for the next time that he's on the program. Premier Panton, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it.
And thank you very much. And as you know, Sandy, I am more than willing to be engaged. I'm happy to be in the morning show, happy to be in the evening show. Either way we do it, I am good with that. I think that I have demonstrated that I am certainly no less and probably much more available than other premiers in the past. I am happy to have these conversations. I may not have the specific answer that everybody's looking for, but you know, the reality is if I have advance notice of what it is that people are concerned about and they want to talk about, I can get the relevant information. But I think it is important to have a lot of the other government departments and ministries who are in charge of areas that are topical and relevant to be able to come on and discuss these issues as well. So I'm going to encourage that. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate being here with you. And I want everyone to have an amazing day. As I said to you, Cayman is, you know, not unlike many countries in the world. We have our set of problems, but let me tell you, it is still, despite our problems, it is still one of the best places in the world to live, to have your families, and to have your being in your business and everything else. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, folks, that is Premier Panton. If you've been listening to the program this morning, we'll have him back on again next month. We'll go ahead and firm up some dates in terms of when he's available. Next month being this month, really, September. So in a couple weeks' time, we'll see if he is available again to come on the program. Let's take a quick commercial break, folks. We'll be back after these messages with Tiz from Recover coming right up.
The population of the Cayman Islands is dynamic, diverse, and growing fast. Since the 2010 census, we have added more than 16,000 residents and almost 7,000 new households to our islands. This means that in Census 2021, around 71,100 persons call the Cayman Islands home. More people than ever live in high-density apartments, which grew by 44%. Home ownership increased by 20%, and 54% of households are renting, with only 9% of households without internet connection at home. We are a diverse community with nationalities from more than 162 countries worldwide. 64% of our residents were born overseas, coming mainly from Jamaica, the Philippines, the United Kingdom, and the United States. 89% of households speak English at home. Of the 11% of persons who speak a language other than English at home, the most common ones are Spanish, Filipino, and Indian languages. With a literacy rate of 98.6%, the Cayman Islands' residents have skills and are resourceful, with 31% holding university degrees and professional designations, and another 22% completed vocational training and associate degrees. The 2021 census results show that job creation in the Cayman Islands is on the rise, increasing by more than 10,200 between 2010 and 2021. There are more than 44,400 active jobs across the Cayman Islands. Nevertheless, our community has some income inequality. The top 20% of households earn more than 45% of total income, while the bottom 20% earn less than 5%. We also have vulnerable communities that need additional support, and over 14% of unemployed citizens receive social welfare assistance. Some people in our community struggle with speaking and hearing, while others have difficulty with everyday tasks. Approximately 139 persons in every 1,000 have a disability. Among our young people, about 5% are not in school or work. More than 33% of households have children, while 1/3 of households are single person living alone. The people of the Cayman Islands are religious, with over 82% of the population affiliated with a religion, and crime is below 2.5% among persons 15 years and older. Find out more about the Cayman Islands Census 2021 report at www.eso.ky.
All right, folks. So quite a bit of useful information there, and I see lots more of your comments. Anthony Paul, who's actually from Bermuda, is saying that Bermuda is actually a very, very expensive place to live. And a lot of young Bermudans are not able to own a piece of the rock. So it's interesting that we have a perception of what's happening there, but he is someone who's actually from there, has a different perception. Paul, I'm going to message you. Maybe we need to have some of our regional partners come on and tell us what is actually happening in their country, because it sounds like it might not be much different from what's happening here. And maybe we have a misconception about access to land in other jurisdictions and other countries. We're all about providing correct and accurate information on this program. So we will put that on the agenda. Paul, look out for a WhatsApp message from me. In the meantime, legal expert, Ms. Tiz is here in the house from Recover, your personal injury attorneys. So Tiz, sorry, good morning. How are you?
Good, you?
Good. So good to see you again. So Tiz is going to be joining us the first Thursday of every single month. And of course, she has been patiently waiting. I know a lot of you were like, oh, keep the premiere on longer, but we don't want to be rude to Tiz. She's been waiting since 9 o'clock, folks, to tell us all about the different types of personal injury that you can actually, the types of damages that you're entitled to in a personal injury claim. So Tiz, welcome back to the program. And do tell us a little bit now about what is it exactly that we're talking about. When we hear the word damages, what does that even mean?
Right. So generally, when people are involved in an accident, they think that automatically the insurance will fix their car and maybe pay for a medical bill if they visited a doctor. And that's about it. However, and then they're scared to reach out to an attorney because, of course, we're known to send big legal bills. But that's not the case anymore. And definitely we offer free consultation. So before you sign any papers or make any decisions about the future of your case or your injury, we would encourage that everybody reach out and call us for a free consultation. We're happy to help or have you in for a meeting and just share our thoughts about the process. So besides the car repair, people are entitled to receive general damages. General damages are compensation for your pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So if you received a broken bone in an accident, then the award of general damages covers you for the pain and suffering and your loss of amenity, which is how this injury has affected your life and will continue to affect your life in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Cayman Islands, how we assess the value of general damages is, the courts will look at the judicial guidelines, which stem from the UK, and also look at reported cases similar to the injuries that you've sustained to kind of come up with an assessment of what the damages are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your pain and suffering. But then there's a whole bunch of other things that people also are not aware that they can claim in a personal injury lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And those are called special damages. And it's basically a big umbrella of different things, which I can go through one by one if you'd like.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sure. So the biggest one is special damages are designed to put you back into the financial position you would have been in had the accident not happened. So the biggest one I can think of is a loss of earnings. Okay. So you're in an accident, you're not able to work, you're injured. The insurance company should be able to cover those wages, not only the wages that, like, if you're off work, but if you're not able to return to work, or if you have to work in a different capacity at a lower rate, that is something that would be covered under a loss of income claim.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you would be entitled to is treatment and rehabilitation and care costs. So, if your doctor is advising you that you need treatment and you don't have the funds for it, this is why the insurance is there, and it should cover your treatment and also your future treatment if you need if you need that into the future, which your doctor would tell you.
And to be clear, treatments, especially rehabilitation, can take a long time. So how do you figure out what, because you might start off doing treatment anticipating maybe 10 sessions and then end up needing double that or more. So how does that work in terms of compensation from an insurance company, and how do you figure out, how that's going to eventually play out for you?
So we encourage our clients to go and see their doctors and report their symptoms. So obviously, if the doctor recommends 12 sessions of physiotherapy or chiropractic care, and then after those sessions the client's still not feeling good, then they have to reassess and either recommend physio or more rehab, or try a different route, or maybe you might need an MRI if things are not resolving, and a further investigation to see what exactly is the injury, and if it can be fixed, or if it's something that after a year or two the pain is still there, that becomes chronic, and then you're dealing with a chronic pain issue, which probably you would need a specialist to be looking after your care as well. So we don't encourage that you rush out and settle your injury claim right away, because you don't know what the future is going to bring. And then if you do settle prematurely, that's it. You don't have another chance to go back to the insurance company and see if they could cover you for any other medical bills or investigation, because you've basically signed off on your rights to pursue the claim any further.
Good point. Okay, what other types of under the heading of special damages are there?
So there's a category called gratuitous care, and that's for people who are not able to care for their daily needs by themselves, and they need, let's say there's a family member around that's been giving them care, that's have to take a leave from their job to be around the person who's injured, to help them bathe or to make their meals. That is something that the injured person is entitled to recover back from the insurance company. There's also other equipment. For example, if you have a back injury and you're at a desk job, you may need a special chair or special device, or a different screen or something that would help you do your job better, that would help you deal with your injuries while you're at work. Those types of things can be claimed as well in your claim. Also, home modification. So if someone's in a wheelchair and they live in a tiny apartment, and the door is too narrow to fit a wheelchair, they would need some home modifications done to their residence, and the cost of those can be recouped in your claim.
Okay. Very good.
Going down the list, there's also damage or loss to your property. So not only your vehicle, but let's say you're wearing eyeglasses and they cracked upon impact, and you need to buy new ones. That's something you can put forward into your claim. If your clothing got damaged or ripped, or had to be cut off of you in the hospital, the cost of replacing those items is also claimable. And then the last thing I have here is travel expenses, which if you, for example, you need to be seen by a specialist that is not on island, and you get a referral out to Florida or Colorado or whatever state elsewhere, then the flight costs and your meals and everything that you've had to incur as a result of the accident to seek medical attention are also covered under your claim.
All right, so I'm just pulling this up on the screen a little bit. Hopefully it will help people see this a bit more. So again, folks, if you're listening to the program, we have Tiz from Recover, just going through the different types of damages that exist. So whenever you get in an accident, it's not as simple as, oh, just fix my car. Everything from travel expenses, loss of property, perhaps special types of equipment that you may need if you're physically injured, gratuitous care if you need help of a caregiver, rehabilitation. Donna has a comment. She says that I had whiplash over 25 years ago. The insurance company had us sign off when they settled, and now is when the mess really trouble you. So again, thinking about future impacts from accidents that you may come into, any sort of personal injury. Iron Lion says, what statutory limitations apply to claims generally?
That is a great question. And in general, it's 3 years, especially for motor vehicles, it's 3 years. But then when you get into other types of claims, for example, if you're injured at work and you work at the port, or if it's a government entity, that window of time could be reduced as little as 3 months. So it's best that you consult with an attorney right away to just know your rights, because the worst thing that could happen is you have a claim, but you waited too long and you're out of luck.
Wow. Okay, good to know. All right, so then we've got generally, how do you go about receiving, or when are you actually going to receive your compensation?
So that really depends on who you're dealing with on the other side. So just taking the example of a car accident, we would hope that there would be insurance, that the other driver that caused the accident would have insurance. And in that case, it's pretty straightforward. We deal with all the insurance companies on this island, and they're usually on board to getting you some treatment, and then eventually settling your case without having to go to court. However, not always is that the case. So there are, more difficult cases where there's liability in dispute. Liability is who's at fault for the accident. So when there's issues of liability, insurance companies take a harder position, and sometimes we have to fight it out in court. So obviously that process would drag on a little bit longer than that. The other issues that could arise are if there's no insurance. Then you're dealing with going after a company or an individual that is not covered, and we can proceed to get even a judgment against that person, but then it's a whole other problem to enforce the judgment against somebody, especially if they don't have property here, or if they don't have a good job that you can go after their wages, for example. That gets a little bit tricky as well. So it really depends on the situation.
Right. Okay. And then how much is my serious injury claim going to be worth?
So again, that's just a very broad question that cannot be answered in a general sense, because it really every case is different, every individual is different, every injury is different, every person recovers differently or at different rates. Some don't recover. So we really work with the individual client, and we keep on assessing the status of their injuries and their healing, and then we come up with a plan as to when we think a good time is to, usually when they're more stable and the injuries are not getting better or worse, is when we can try to figure out what would they need into the future, and then propose that to the insurance company and see if we can come up with something that both parties are agreeable to. But in the interim, like some people, have an accident and, they have broken bones and they're not able to move around, and that's, they need the care right away. So in those situations, we would approach the insurance company or the court and apply for an interim payment so that we can get them a little bit of money to get them started on their rehabilitation journey, and then see how they progress, and maybe they need some more down the road, or maybe not. And that's another way that we can get them funds, and it's called an intern payment.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell us a little bit about Recover, because we do have Brenda saying that, they need to change labor laws because a lot of people, to coincide with, one has to go through to hire a lawyer, because a lot of people can't afford a lawyer, and ultimately a judge will decide how much you'll be compensated. So why is it important to get an attorney? And why are you guys the right ones to be calling, especially when it comes to personal injury?
Okay. So, the average person out there did not go to law school, does not know enough of the laws to understand what their rights are and what they could be entitled to. And so that's why we really urge people to call us and find out more information. So knowledge of the law is the first thing. The second thing is that we offer contingency fee arrangements. So that's something relatively new, and I think we're the only law firm on the island that offers that. And so, if you hire us, you're not getting a bill every time you call us. We work on your behalf until we get you a settlement. And if we don't get you a settlement, then we don't get paid. So, that's a pretty good deal for people who want access to justice and can't afford it. So I think that's a really good step in the direction for the government to implement that law, because it opens the doors for people to get legal advice and not have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, lawyers are known to have very strong negotiation skills. So that's another reason why you would want to have someone fighting for you on your behalf against insurance companies who also hire lawyers and have a wealth of resources to spend on experts and people to help defend them, or not have to pay you what you deserve. So you should have the equal opportunity to do so. And we offer personalized legal advice, right? So you come in to us, you explain your situation, and you get the tailored advice to your case. You might need more evidence. You might need to, you might need to collect witnesses, things that you never think that you would need. But this is all about, if you're going to court, it's about proof. What can you prove about your injury and how it happened and what your damages are? And that's how you recover. So why reach out to us is because we do offer that free consultation to give you a chance to speak to a lawyer for free. And then we offer a no fee on a no fee basis. So you come to us and you get representation without having to get a bill every so often. So there's no downside. You should call us anytime you or your family member or your friend is injured and somebody else is at fault. You should call us before you sign a legal document, just to get a second opinion as to, is this fair, is this right? When the insurance company is saying it's your fault and it isn't, you should call us and get that second opinion. Or if the insurance is flat out refusing to pay you anything and you're feeling overwhelmed and you can't deal with it because this is just another stress on your daily life, then you should know that we are here and we're willing to help.
All right. And Donna has a question. She wants to know, what's the fee? Is it based on a percentage of what you get? Is it like an hourly rate? How does that part of it work?
So the fee is a percentage. So, the more that we can recover for you, the better it is for us. So we're motivated that way. And if you'd like to know what we charge, I'd urge you to call us and come in for a consultation, and we'll walk you through everything.
Okay, Miss Brenda says it's good to hear their firm is now providing these services. So one of a kind, folks. Recover personal injury attorneys. They can be reached at 929-9999 or 749-9999. And you can certainly visit their website, which is recover.ky. So Tiz is going to be joining us every single month, the first Thursday of the month, to kind of bring you guys up to speed. You'll learn a little bit more information from her about, what personal injury is, how this process works. Today, we review the different types of damages because, again, I hadn't thought of a lot of these different headings. And this is why you want to hire someone who is indeed an expert in the law, because they will know exactly what sort of questions to be asking of your insurance company or the other party, and asking the right questions to get you the most recoverable money for your injuries, your personal injuries, your property injuries, and so on. So this is absolutely fantastic. So any final thoughts, Tiz, before we let you go this morning?
I just would, again, encourage people to, this is relatively new on Island, and a lot of people don't know about us. So if you know of anybody who, is in a bad spot and had something happen to them, it doesn't have to be a car accident. We also have some clients who, had a medical emergency and their insurance company says, we're not covering you. And, they get a bill of $50,000 for an emergency surgery. These are the types of people that we like to help, because they obviously they get a letter from the insurance company, we're not covering you, and they're, in a shock. They don't know how they're going to ever be able to, cover that bill. They're scared of collection agencies coming after them. And it could be a case of just the insurance company made an improper denial. And so, we're happy to consult with you on those types of things as well.
Very good. All right, folks. So again, Recover, they're the ones to go to. Tiz, we thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you next month on Thursday, the first Thursday of the month.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Recover personal injury attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
All right, folks, we're going to leave you now with just our daily news update. Thank you, Kevin, for always keeping us informed. We've got local news, regional, international news, and of course, our weather updates.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. The Ministry of Home Affairs has expressed regret at the passing of Her Majesty's Cayman Islands Prison Service Officer Cashwain McKenzie, who died on Sunday after he crashed his motorbike at the end of a race. The ministry, in a release, said Mr. McKenzie was a jovial and pleasant member of the prison service team and garnered equal respect from his fellow officers and inmates he interacted with daily. Director of Prisons Mr. Daniel Greaves said the loss of an intelligent young officer has been difficult for his team. Deputy Governor the Honourable Franz Manderson also offered his condolences on behalf of the civil service. The UK Hydrographic Office has completed a seabed mapping survey for the Cayman Islands, uncovering information about the depth and nature of the seabed and its ecosystems. The data from the survey has been officially presented to and shared with the Cayman Islands government. Under the Ministry of District Administration and Lands, the Department of Lands and Survey will serve as custodians for the data. Additionally, the UK Hydrographic Office has also installed 4 tide gauges which remotely monitor sea level change. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has named Dr. Nick Gent as incoming Chief Medical Officer after an open recruitment process. The ministry said Dr. Gent is a highly reputable physician who holds over 20 years of public health experience, including his most recent post as Senior Medical Advisor Consultant in Public Health with the UK Health Security Agency. He has also worked as Director of Public Health in several district public health services. He has served as an executive member for multiple health service authorities within the UK National Health Service, with responsibility for public health, health protection, and commissioning a wide range of healthcare services. In addition to his work as senior public health official, Dr. Gent has worked with global bodies such as the European Union, World Health Organization, the World Bank, where he advised on legislation concerning public health, human rights, health regulations, and other matters. The first hawksbill turtle nest of the season has been confirmed in Little Cayman by Department of Environment's turtle team. Hawksbills are critically endangered, and the nesting populations in the Cayman Islands are extremely low in numbers. Often only 1 or 2 nests are found per year, and there are many years with no nests recorded at all. Hawksbill turtle nest looks similar to loggerhead turtle nest, so it can be difficult to confirm identification without seeing a hatchling. Police continue to look for Luisto Eusebio Hernandez in relation to firearm offenses. He is considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached. If seen, call 911 immediately. The search is still on for 2 missing men. 53-year-old Noel Paul Manning has been missing since June 24th, and 26-year-old Adrian Williamson has been missing since July 6th. Now you are asked to contact your nearest police station if you see them. Now for a Storm Ready Cayman update, it's brought to you by Home Gas. The National Hurricane Center is closely monitoring 3 tropical systems in the tropical Atlantic. One is several hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles. In case you have challenges with your geography, that's where the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Martin, Montserrat, and a few other islands are located. The system has a high chance of turning into a depression or named tropical storm. The other one is located off the coast of Africa. That system has a medium chance of turning into a depression or named tropical storm. And the third system is out in the middle of nowhere, really. It's what we call a fish storm. The closest land reference would be the Azores, which is about 850 miles away. Now, if all 3 systems strengthen to tropical storm status, the next 3 names on the list are Danielle, Earl, and Fiona. We are now entering the time of year that the tropics tend to get a lot busier, so be storm ready, Cayman. And special thank you to Home Gas for making these updates possible. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:10, lots of clouds will be around. The temperature rises to the high 80s, but it will feel hotter than that. When the high temperature is at 88 degrees Fahrenheit and the relative humidity is at 72%, like the forecast calls for, the temperature will feel around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour, then the sun sets at 6:40. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the low 80s. Looking forward, Friday and Saturday, the chance of a shower does increase again. Remember, it's summertime, so hot days, warm nights with scattered showers are typical for this time of year. CMR weather updates are brought to you by WG Charters. They offer private boat trips for a great price, so we encourage you to support them. Now for some regional and international news. The Solomon Islands has suspended visits by the U.S. and other foreign military vessels, American officials said Tuesday, raising concerns in Washington that the Pacific nation is turning away from engagement with the United States in favor of working with China. The Solomon Islands gave notice of the decision after a U.S. Coast Guard ship and a British Royal Naval ship failed to get timely approvals last week to make routine stops in a port. The Solomon Islands government formally notified the United States on Monday that it had placed a moratorium on all foreign military ships visiting, pending a review of its protocols and procedures. NASA will try again Saturday to launch its new moon rocket on a test flight after engine trouble halted the first countdown this week. Managers said they are changing fuel procedures to deal with the issue. A bad sensor also could be to blame for Monday's scrapped launch. The 322-foot rocket, the most powerful ever built by NASA, remains on its pad at Kennedy Space Center with an empty crew capsule on top. The Space Launch System rocket will attempt to send the capsule around the moon and back. No one will be aboard, just 3 test dummies. If successful, it will be the first capsule to fly to the moon since NASA's Apollo program 50 years ago. The Belize government, acknowledging that it was caught by surprise at the decision of nurses countrywide to stage industrial action on Monday, said outstanding monies owed to healthcare workers could be paid by Friday. The Health and Wellness Minister Kevin Bernard told reporters via Zoom his ministry had met with the Nurses Association of Belize and subsequently wrote to the Ministry of Finance regarding the payment. He told reporters that the nationwide protest caught him by surprise in light of the prior meetings with the association, and that he had an agreement that had been reached in relation to an adjustment made to the calculation of overtime hours for shift workers and the return of monies deducted from nurses' salaries during the last pay period as a result of a short hour deduction policy. Jamaica's tourism minister Edmund Bartlett says the island's tourism recovery is ahead of schedule and only slightly behind 2019 levels. Bartlett noted that the industry is recovering faster than expected. Bartlett said based on the outturns for the year to date, Jamaica is trending 90% against 2019. Originally, it was projected that Jamaica would recover to 2019 levels by 2023 or 2024. The World Travel Awards Caribbean and North America 2022 was held in Jamaica. Caribbean and America's top tourism industry professionals and decision makers attended